We are live on YouTube. We are live on TikTok. We got Joe Schmo in the chat already. Listen, everyone, I'm 2-6 in my league, and I'm not giving up. Joe Schmo refuses to give up. I want to make this trade: Davante Adams for Justin Jefferson, Mike Gesicki, and Zach Moss. If that's what it takes, Joe, that's what it takes. You got to get into the fantasy football playoffs to win your fantasy football league. So I don't hate it, man. I don't hate it. And Davante Adams is better than Justin Jefferson, but Mike Gesicki has scored more points than any tight end over the last 3 weeks. We got Jerome Priest in the TikTok chat saying, I'm 2-6 also, so you're not alone, Joe Schmo. Sup, man? Starting Pats or Rams D? I mean, you have to play the Patriots defense today, guys. I'm wearing my Patriots jersey, Julian Edelman today. And if you've been following me long enough, this might sound weird coming from me, but I'm actually feeling kind of optimistic about the Patriots this week. I'm feeling pretty optimistic about them. They should win this game. They're 3.5-point favorites. They've really owned Sam Darnold since he entered the league. And the Patriots are coming off a massive, massive win. This would be another big win for the New England Patriots today. Guys, we're live on TikTok. We are live on YouTube. If you're watching live on TikTok, come to the YouTube live. Link is in the TikTok bio. You can see my top 10 rankings for every single position. You can see my favorite picks against the spread. We nailed the Indianapolis Colts minus 10.5. We nailed Jonathan Taylor over rushing, over receiving. I don't know if you saw the TikTok I posted earlier this week, but we literally on the Thursday Night Live called Jonathan Taylor getting 200 yards. He had exactly 200. Do I start Hunter Renfrow? Guys, one of these Raiders wide receivers is going to have to step up now. In the absence of Henry Ruggs, it's going to be Hunter Renfrow, Bryan Edwards, Darren Waller, and Zay Jones. And I'm not expecting Zay Jones to do very much. I think Hunter Renfrow and Bryan Edwards are pretty good options. You like Boston Scott or Carlos Hyde today? Yeah, I think Carlos Hyde is probably the biggest trap of the day. I mean, let's just be real about who we're talking about. Carlos Hyde. Carlos Hyde is at least 3 years past his prime. I'm not in on Carlos Hyde this week. And I know James Robinson likely not going to be playing. He's likely not going to be playing. So it should mean volume for Carlos Hyde. And usually in fantasy football, we want to chase the volume. And the volume should be there for Carlos Hyde. Like, he should see at least 20 touches. But it's Carlos Hyde. He could turn those 20 touches into 40 yards, 0 touchdowns. Like, would not be surprising at all. So I'm not really in on Carlos Hyde today. I've already done a lot of trades, but should I do Gibson for Hurts? And I need another. I have Wentz. You need another QB. Yet I don't like trading for quarterbacks, just generally speaking. How is Elijah Mitchell? Yeah, so Elijah Mitchell is questionable to play this week. It looks like he's going to play. Jeff Wilson, though, is back. And I don't think he's going to have a huge workload, but the 49ers backfield is starting to look very murky. It's going to be a running back by committee. Good morning. Pointy. Guys, we're live on TikTok and YouTube. Link is in the TikTok bio to come to YouTube Live. You can see my favorite picks against the spread right now on the bottom of the YouTube Live. I'll pull up my top 10 rankings, quarterbacks, wide receivers, running backs, tight ends, all on the YouTube Live. They just scroll at the bottom of the screen. And it's also a little bit easier for me to pull up comments on the YouTube Live as well. So come on over to the YouTube Live. Do appreciate that. If you stick in the TikTok Live, that's fine too. But the question here is Brandon Cooks or Darrell Williams. Also, any specific weather updates? Let me pull up the weather updates. I know that our Colts.WalterPicks creator is actually putting out a video every single week on TikTok just about the weather, which I think was a fantastic idea. So you can also check that out. But I will pull up the NFL weather report in just a second here. But you got to start Brandon Cooks, guys. You have to start Brandon Cooks. I'm all in on Brandon Cooks right now. I think he's a great guy to trade for, and I think he's a must-start player. Tyrod Taylor is back. David Blake's in the TikTok chat. Thank you. Any news on CeeDee Lamb? Yeah, so many guys questionable. It looks like CeeDee Lamb's going to play, though. But yeah, you got to be playing Brandon Cooks over Darrell Williams 100%. Derek Gore, the reincarnated Frank Gore, is going to be stealing touches from Darrell Williams yet again this week. And the Chiefs are in a pretty interesting matchup against the Packers. No Aaron Rodgers. No Devonte Adams. No, I think Devonte Adams is back. Just kidding. But no Aaron Rodgers. And really, I'm on the side of, I'm not a huge believer in Jordan Love. I'm not going to get my hopes up for Jordan Love, but I am actually taking the Packers. I think they're +7 at home. No, in the road in Kansas City. Our Packers.WalterPicks creator is actually going to this game. AJ Dillon got him tickets. Pretty cool. But no, I think the Packers could beat the Chiefs. The Chiefs defense is not good. This is the thing about the Chiefs that we've been talking about all season long. This is why the Chiefs right now are not realistic Super Bowl contenders. Their defense is a bottom 5 defense in the NFL. And so the Packers are going to be able to move the ball against them, even with Jordan Love. Waddle or Deebo Samuel? Deebo Samuel is looking very questionable to play. It looks like he's trending towards playing now. So if I had to guess, and we'll probably find out during this stream whether or not Deebo Samuel is going to play, because I'll be live, guys, for the next 3 hours. We're live for the next 3 hours. I'm going to try to get to as many of the comments as I can. We're talking football for the next 3 hours. But Deebo Samuel was questionable. It looks like he is going to play. But it doesn't look like Kyler Murray is going to play. It doesn't look like DeAndre Hopkins is going to play. It also doesn't look like James Robinson is going to play. Those are the 3 guys that seem like they're not going to play, though I don't think they've been officially ruled out. So I think you can play Deebo Samuel over Jalen Waddle, but you got to like Jalen Waddle a lot this week, too. There's no Devontae Parker this week for the Miami Dolphins. And Jalen Waddle's been gobbling up targets every single week. He's had at least 8 targets, I think, in 3 straight games. All right, so the Bills at the Jaguars looks like the Bills and the Jaguars, the Texans and the Dolphins look like they have the worst weather. But it's nothing to be concerned about. It's nothing to be concerned about. There's no wind over 25 miles an hour. Looks like it's wind in the 15 to 20 mile an hour range. So really no weather to be concerned about. Guys, we are live on TikTok. We are live on YouTube. Come to the YouTube live. Let me pull up my top 10 rankings against quarterbacks, wide receivers, running backs, tight ends. Link is in the TikTok bio. You can see all my top 10 rankings. If you are watching live on YouTube, thank you so much for tuning in. And if you're watching live on TikTok, thanks for tuning in. Guys, hit the follow button on TikTok if you aren't following us yet. We're putting out fantasy football advice content every single day. And if you're watching live on YouTube for the first time, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. When we get to 250 likes on the YouTube live, we got a free prop pick for you all. And our prop picks have been crushing it. We had Jonathan Taylor over rushing and over receiving on Thursday night. That one felt like it was stealing. That one honestly felt like it was stealing. Play CMC. Yeah, we got to talk about Christian McCaffrey. We got to talk about Christian McCaffrey. First of all, I mean, I'm so happy that he's returned. This is a good thing for fantasy football. Christian McCaffrey returning, and he's really just one of the most exciting players in the NFL. So I'm pumped to see him back and healthy. And we got to talk when talking about Christian McCaffrey. I think we can tether in George Kittle into this conversation because they're in a really similar spot today. They both have been out for over 3 weeks, and apparently they're both going to be on pitch counts today, according to Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport. Both Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle are going to be on some sort of a pitch count today, a snap count. But should we be that scared to start on a snap count? I'm still starting Christian McCaffrey. I have Christian McCaffrey in 2 leagues. I'm starting him. Christian McCaffrey, you have to understand, in over 90% of his games over the last 2.5 years, he scored over 20 fantasy points. He's only not scoring over 20 fantasy points like twice in like 18 games. So you have to start him. And he's pretty much a lock to go over 10 points, even if he plays half the snaps. Even if he plays half of his normal workload, I mean, that's still better than the majority of running backs. So, yeah, you still have to start Christian McCaffrey. I think George Kittle's a whole slightly different situation because George Kittle doesn't see the type of volume Christian McCaffrey does. So you have George Kittle's volume, and that's a little bit bigger of a concern. Love the app. Thanks, Alec. Yeah, guys, if you haven't tried out the WalterPicks app yet in the iOS App Store, I personally spent over 10,000 hours of my life on this app. I work full-time on this app right now, and it's the biggest way you could possibly support me is going and downloading the WalterPicks app in the iOS App Store. The link is in the TikTok bio. The link is in the YouTube description. I really do appreciate it. Alex in the YouTube live saying he absolutely loves the app. Thank you, Alec. I do appreciate that. Thank you for trying it out. Should I trade Devonte Adams and T. Higgins for Joe Mixon, Thielen, and McKissick? Yeah, I don't hate this. I think that getting a good running back in a trade is usually a trade I like. Good running backs are hard to find. By the way, Joe Mixon is a fantastic buy low candidate right now. He's back to full health, and when fully healthy, Joe Mixon has had a top 5 running back workload this season. Don't be surprised if we see a big Joe Mixon game today. I'm pull up my top 10 running backs of the day, and we had Jonathan Taylor like pretty clearly as our number 1 running back heading into this week. So I feel pretty good about that. Like the week is off to a good start, guys, for Walter and for the WalterPicks brand. We had Jonathan Taylor as far and away the number 1 running back, and we liked the Colts minus 10.5. We liked all of Jonathan Taylor's props. What happened? Let me read this TikTok. What happened to McNichols? Nothing happened. Did something happen to McNichols? I don't think anything happened to McNichols. We have Adrian Peterson playing for the Titans today, and I think McNichols is going to get the receiving work. And Adrian Peterson's going to have the first and second down role. But McNichols isn't a bad play. Like, I think McNichols is a sneaky play. And he's better to me in PPR than Adrian Peterson, at least this week. How heavily are you going on CMC? I'm not going to be playing Christian McCaffrey on DraftKings or FanDuel or any of his props. So I'm not going to go like super heavy on CMC in that sense. But I am starting him in all my season-long leagues. Like, if you have Christian McCaffrey, you probably had the first overall pick, or you are top of your standings, and so you made a really good trade for Christian McCaffrey at some point in your league. Like, you just start him. Just start him. But I wouldn't be playing him in DraftKings and FanDuel. Speaking of DraftKings, FanDuel, if you come to the YouTube Live, I'm pulling up my DraftKings lineup right now on the YouTube Live. That's actually the bottom of the screen. I'm in a high-stakes head-to-head league. I got thousands of dollars on the line in this league, and I got to get a win this week. We've had a bad couple of weeks on DraftKings, with really just like injuries have been plaguing my DraftKings lineup. It's absolutely brutal. But I'm feeling very good about the lineup today. I think there's a couple players on DraftKings and FanDuel that I think you just have to play this week. One of them is Bryan Edwards. I think you got to be playing Bryan Edwards in basically every single DraftKings and FanDuel lineup this week. Guys, Bryan Edwards is going to see a big bump in workload opportunity with Henry Ruggs out of the picture. If you had been following me before the season, there was only one player I had on every single team, and it was Bryan Edwards. Rashad Bateman versus Bryan Edwards. I would probably go Bryan Edwards over Rashad Bateman. Sammy Watkins looks like he's actually going to play this week. I like Rashad Bateman long-term. I think this week I like Bryan Edwards more. And I like the matchup for Bryan Edwards. Guys, the Giants have not been very good against receivers this entire season. They're allowing the 11th most points to receivers this season. I think the Raiders beat the Giants today, by the way. I'm taking the Raiders against the spread. And let me pull up my favorite picks against the spread really quickly, though. Here's my DraftKings lineup. The quarterback that you got to play this week, though, is Lamar Jackson. Like, I'm not 100% confident about Rashad Bateman, but I'm 100% confident about Lamar Jackson, who, to me, is very much in the MVP conversation this season. Really one of the most disrespected quarterbacks of our time. The best rushing quarterback of all time. And he has another good matchup today. The Baltimore Ravens up against the Minnesota Vikings. I think that game could turn into a shootout very quickly. I actually think the Ravens defense is one of the more overrated defenses in the league. If you look at adjusted for strength of opponent and you kind of ignore touchdowns and you just look at the yardage defenses have allowed, which is actually the yards correlate with touchdowns more than touchdowns correlate with touchdowns. This is one of the harder things to understand in the NFL, but touchdowns are highly random. Yards, though, aren't as highly random, and the Ravens have allowed a lot of yards on defense. I think the Vikings are going to move the ball really well, which is why I'm playing Dalvin Cook in my DraftKings lineup today alongside Nick Chubb. I think Nick Chubb is basically a lock. Like, Nick Chubb every week is basically a lock to get at least 60 yards, but to me, he's going over 100 yards today against the Bengals. I like Nick Chubb a lot. He's a lock for 15-plus carries, the most efficient running back in the NFL. No more Odell Beckham Jr. for the Browns. I think there's going to be a big Nick Chubb week. I think the Browns are going to win, by the way. I think the Browns are going to respond to kind of the negative press they've been under this past week and a half really well. All right, let's get back to some of the comments, though. Let me pull up my top 10 wide receivers this week. Let me finish the DraftKings lineup really quickly. All right, so Lamar Jackson, Nick Chubb, Dalvin Cook. I mean, just absolute firepower to start this lineup. All three of these guys going over 15 points easily. All three of them could easily go over 30 points as well. At the wide receiver position, I'm paying down, and I'm going to go Bryan Edwards and Hunter Renfrow on the same lineup. This is a head-to-head contest. I wouldn't do this in a tournament, but in a head-to-head contest, this hedges a little bit of risk for me because I think at least one of these guys has to see an increased target share today. Bryan Edwards and Hunter Renfrow. Then I'm going with Rondale Moore as my third receiver. Rondale Moore, the rookie out of Purdue on the Arizona Cardinals. No DeAndre Hopkins today. At least unlikely we see DeAndre Hopkins today. It hasn't been officially confirmed. Unlikely we see Kyler Murray today. It's going to be a big Rondale Moore day. And I think that I don't really understand, given what we know about the Arizona Cardinals likely to be without Kyler Murray, likely to be without DeAndre Hopkins. The Cardinals are only 3.5-point underdogs against the 49ers in San Francisco. I mean, it's kind of a disrespectful spread for the San Francisco 49ers. There's no J.J. Watt for the Cardinals either. But I think the 49ers are going to beat them pretty handedly. So I'll pull up my picks against the spread again one more time. Let's pull up some more of the comments here, though, in the YouTube Live, in the TikTok Live. Is CMC worth starting? Yeah, you have to start him. You kind of have to start him unless you have a very, very, very good option. Mahomes or Tua? Mahomes or Tua? Mahomes or Tua? Sean, it's got to be Mahomes. I mean, what are we doing here? What are you doing with Patrick Mahomes on your team if you're not going to be starting Patrick Mahomes? There really should be no questions any single week about Patrick Mahomes. There should be no questions any single week about Lamar Jackson. You got to start both these guys. Deebo Samuel, I'm seeing in the TikTok live. Yeah, Deebo Samuel is highly questionable for the game, but it looks like he's going to play. So yeah, you should play. You should play. I do think this could be a Brandon Ayuk, the bazooka week, though. And I won't be surprised. Brandon Ayuk, guys, had his highest snap share, highest target share, like by a significant amount last week. It seems like Brandon Ayuk is out of the doghouse. Hey, Sam, gave the app a 5-star review. Thank you so much. This is, by the way, if you want a better chance for me to answer your question, I will try to get to, I promise, as many questions as I can. But the best way to get me to answer your question is usually, hey, Sam, I just gave the WalterPicks app a 5-star review. Could you answer my question, please? Like it does further incentivize me to answer your question. 5-star reviews for the WalterPicks app actually help us out so much, like way more than you would probably realize. So I do appreciate that. Link is in the TikTok bio for the WalterPicks app and in the YouTube description. I've spent so much time on this. We're so close to 3,000 5-star reviews too, which is very exciting. And yeah, let me pull up my wide receiver rankings. If you are in the YouTube live, you can see my top 10 rankings: wide receiver, running back, quarterback, tight end. If you are in the YouTube live too, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I really do appreciate that. We're so close to 5,000 YouTube subscribers too. Very exciting. Start Derek Carr or Tyrod Taylor. Yeah, guys, Tyrod Taylor's back. It's why I think the Houston Texans beat the Miami Dolphins today. The Texans 5.5-point underdogs against the Dolphins. I mean, I think that really should be closer to a pick 'em. The Dolphins are not good. I do think Tua is going to have a good day, though, against the Texans. But I also think Tyrod Taylor is going to tear up the Miami Dolphins. That being said, I still think you have to go with Derek Carr. The Raiders have a very good matchup today against the Giants. And the Giants have Kenny Golladay playing again today, too. I think that game could sneakily turn into a shootout. That's why I'm playing Bryan Edwards and Hunter Renfrow in my DraftKings lineup. Yeah, I think you kind of have to go with Derek Carr. The New York Giants have allowed the 15th most points per game to quarterbacks. The Texans have allowed the 8th most. The Dolphins allowed the 4th most. I mean, I don't hate Tyrod Taylor as an option today. I still think I would go Derek Carr, though. I've been using WalterPicks since right before the start of the season. Gave it a 5-star review. Thank you, man. I do appreciate that. All right, let's take a quick look at this question. McNichols, Edwards, or Ayuk for the flex full PPR. Yeah, I think I like Edwards the most out of these guys. And McNichols is a total wild card. Let's be real. McNichols is a total wild card. I think Edwards is basically locked into at least 4 catches today. He should see his biggest opportunity. But if we're being real, the guy with the highest ceiling out of these 3 guys is Brandon Ayuk, the bazooka. And I'm not going to be that surprised when Brandon Ayuk has a breakout rest of the season. Like, he is going to be that guy that wins fantasy leagues after just destroying fantasy teams for the first half of the season. Probably the biggest bust so far this season. Him and Trey Sermon from the same team, just complete busts. But yeah, I think I would probably go Edwards personally, but I would strongly consider Ayuk. I don't think I'd strongly consider Jeremy McNichols in this spot. 2-year app subscriber. Marcus, thank you so much. Yeah, doing one of the premium subscriptions in the WalterPicks app, really the hands down best way you could possibly support me, Marcus. I do appreciate that. And in the WalterPicks app, you're getting start sit advice, trade advice, DraftKings, FanDuel advice, player prop. You're getting everything. So I appreciate that, Marcus. All right, pick 2. Boston Scott, Darrell Williams, Devonta Smith, Carlos Hyde, Jeff Wilson, Rashad Bateman. App says Smith and Darrell Williams. Yeah, that's interesting. Devonte Smith, guys, is such a hard guy to trust this week. He's such a hard guy to trust this week. He has let us down time and time again this season. The air yards are there for Devonte Smith. The opportunity is there for Devonte Smith. Devonte Smith gonna see at least 6 targets today. The Chargers are probably going to put up points against the Eagles too. So the Eagles are likely going to have to try to keep up. But the Chargers have been really, really good against wide receivers. They're the 3rd best team against receivers this season. I don't think you can trust Rashad Bateman with Sammy Watkins also playing. Like there's a lot of competition for Rashad Bateman. Carlos Hyde, I think, is the biggest trap of the week. I like Darrell Williams probably the most. I would definitely go Darrell Williams. I think the question really comes down to Boston Scott versus Devonte Smith. And you look at the matchup for the Eagles, and the Chargers have been the 2nd worst rushing defense in the NFL. You adjust for strength of opponent, and they are the worst rushing defense in the NFL. And the Patriots just dominated them on the ground a week ago. And we saw Boston Scott get a bunch of carries last week too against the Lions. But I still think Devonte Smith is the higher ceiling play. I still think I would go Devonte Smith. I think I agree with Walter in this one. I would go Devonte Smith, and I would go with Darrell Williams. All right, let's get back to some of the questions here. I want to pull up my picks against the spread really quickly. I want to just quickly go through my thoughts for the game. each game, one by one, very quickly. All right, first of all, we nailed the Colts minus 10.5. I mean, that game wasn't even close. The Jets almost did backdoor cover in that game. I'm taking the Texans plus 5.5 against the Dolphins. The Dolphins defense, bottom 3 across the board. Bottom 5 secondary, bottom 5 rush defense. Tyrod Taylor is back. I think Brandon Cooks has a big day. I think the Texans can beat the Dolphins in Miami. The Cowboys, minus 10 versus the Broncos. I think the Cowboys are a very good bet to lead the league in points scored for the rest of the season. The Cowboys, guys, they have 6 starting offensive linemen. Like their 6th offensive lineman, they're all healthy. Their 6th offensive lineman would start on basically every other NFL team in the league. That's how strong their offensive line is right now and how much depth they have. Dak Prescott back healthy. And I believe CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, both going to play today. So I like the Cowboys to destroy the Broncos today by more than 10 points. Ravens, minus 6 versus the Vikings. I think this game could be the highest scoring game of the day. It would not surprise me. The deeper research I do, the more and more it seems like the Ravens defense is overrated. So I do like the Vikings offense today, but I think I can't get myself to bet against Lamar Jackson, who to me has to be in the MVP conversation. Patriots, minus 3.5 versus the Panthers. And usually things go south when I say this. I'm not going to lie. So you got to take this one with a huge grain of salt. But as a Patriots fan, I'm actually feeling optimistic today. And I'm one of the few pessimistic Patriots fans out there. But I'm feeling optimistic today about the Patriots. They've kind of owned Sam Darnold since he went into the league. They're coming off a huge win against the Chargers. And I think they have the better offense, defense, and coaching in this game. So I'm excited for the Patriots. I'm taking them minus 3.5 today against the Panthers. That line has moved a little bit, and it looks like Sam Darnold is going to play, but he is still questionable. So we'll update all that news as the day goes on, as the stream goes on. Then we have the Bills against the Jaguars. To me, Bills, best team in the AFC. Jaguars, worst team in the AFC. They're going to destroy the Jaguars in this game. The thing about the Buffalo Bills and why I don't feel that scared about taking the Bills minus 14.5, the Bills will continue to throw the ball even when they have a lead. Like the Bills could be up 14-0 in the first quarter. They're not going to take their foot off the gas. They're really not that type of team. They've been one of the most pass-heavy teams in the NFL, even when you adjust for game situations. So, yeah, I'd like the Bills to destroy the Jaguars today. I also think the Browns are going to win. I think the Browns are going to beat the Bengals. They are 1-point underdogs. I think it's in Cincinnati. Cincinnati coming off just an abysmal loss to the Jets. I mean, watching Thursday night, I couldn't stop thinking during that Thursday night game, how did the Bengals lose to this team? And I know Mike White was playing, and he wasn't playing for the Jets most of that Thursday night. So the offense actually did okay Thursday night for the Jets. Josh Johnson actually did pretty well, but I'm taking the Browns +1. I think the Browns respond well to the type of adversity they're facing right now. And I think Nick Chubb has a massive, massive day. All right. Hey, Sam, I gave the app a 5-star review. Thank you. I do appreciate that. Could you answer a few questions? McNichols or Booker at running back too? Yeah, I think you got to go Devonte Booker. No Saquon Barkley. Booker had a huge receiving role last week, and he's almost a lock to get more touches of the ball than McNichols. Also, Rams D or Cards D. Yeah, I think you got to go Rams defense. You have to go the Rams. The Rams are, I think, the second best defense this week. The Tennessee Titans, no Derrick Henry. The Cardinals defense isn't terrible, but I think the Cardinals are underdogs in that game. I think the Patriots are probably the number 1 defense of the week. They're the most expensive defense on DraftKings and FanDuel too. Just gave the app a 5-star review. Love the app. Thanks, man. Claypool or Beasley? Claypool or Beasley? Yeah, Beasley had a monster week the other week. Meanwhile, Emmanuel Sanders tossed up a donut. But I actually like Claypool a lot this week. I do. I like Claypool a lot this week. I think that Claypool has a really high ceiling. He has a very high ceiling. The Steelers are on Monday Night Football against the Bears, and the Bears, quietly, and I feel like if you hadn't been watching closely, you wouldn't expect this, but the Chicago Bears have been horrible against receivers this season. They've allowed the 5th most points to receivers this season. That's why Deebo Samuel went for 177 against them last week. And he was a lock in the WalterPicks app. I think his over-under was 72. He went for 177. He had over 100 yards more than his prop. And so, yeah, I like Chase Claypool a lot this week. I like his props, too. I think his props are in the 50s. I think he could easily go for 100 yards and a touchdown. Claypool or Khalil Herbert? Yeah, you guys got to be really cautious with Khalil Herbert this week. David Montgomery is back. And that makes Khalil Herbert a very risky play. Yo, Sam, how's it going? Yarshman, it's going great, man. It's going fantastic. We got such an exciting slate of games this week, and I'm feeling really excited about it. How's it going? Start Ertz or Kittle? Yeah, all right, let me pull up my top 10 rankings at tight end. I don't think I've pulled these up yet on the YouTube Live. We're live on TikTok and YouTube. Link to the YouTube Live is in the TikTok bio. You can see my top 10 rankings for every position in the YouTube Live. It's also a little easier for me to pull up comments in the YouTube Live. I will answer comments from both, of course, though. But yeah, if you look at my rankings at the tight end position, you won't see George Kittle on here. And I don't think you can really start George Kittle with that much confidence today. So I think you kind of have to go yards. I think you kind of have to go with Ertz. Ertz is in a pretty good spot. Kyler Murray's likely not going to play this week, but neither is DeAndre Hopkins. That's good news for Ertz. So yeah, I think I would go Zach Ertz. I don't think Zach Ertz is in my top 10 either, though. No, he's not. Already said A.J. Brown. Start it. Yeah, quick, guys, you got to start A.J. Brown. We said this 3 weeks ago. We said this exactly 3 weeks ago. Because I go back and I watch every single NFL game at least once. And when you go back and watch the Titans game, even from 3 weeks ago, might have been 2 weeks ago. I think it was 3 weeks ago. It's really clear. If you have A.J. Brown on your fantasy football team, you put him in your starting lineup. You do not take him out of your starting lineup for the remainder of the season. Do not take him out of your starting lineup. Remainder of the season, don't trade him. He's just that slot on your team it's done. You figured out that spot on your team because A.J. Brown, guys, he is cooking on all cylinders, and there's no more Derrick Henry too, which is going to be big for A.J. Brown. It just locks in even more volume for A.J. Brown. The Titans offense is going to have to change. If they try to run the Titans offense through Adrian Peterson, it's just not going to go as well. And they really are built to throw. Julio Jones not even on the injury report this week. Ryan Tannehill could have a big game this week. It's against the Rams. It's not going to be an easy matchup for them. But yeah, I mean, you have to start A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown over the last 3 weeks, since we said we need to start A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown, 90 yards and 7 catches, 90 yards, 16 fantasy points. The next week, 8 catches, 133 yards, touchdown, 27 fantasy points. The next week, 10 catches, 155 yards, 31 points against the Colts. He had his highest snap share of the season in that game too. Highest reception total, highest receiving yards total. Best fan. He was the number 1 receiver last week. So you have to start A.J. Brown. I mean, there's really no question about it. Evan Ingram or Cole Kmet. Oh man, that one's tough. I think I would probably go Evan Ingram. Hey Sam, just gave a 5-star review. Thanks, man. Tyler Conklin or Pat Freiermuth. Yeah, I think I would probably. I think Ebron's out again. Don't correct me if I'm wrong here, but if Ebron's out again, you kind of have to go Pat here. Let me see. I'm pulling this up really quickly because I know Ebron was out last week. Yeah, he didn't practice Saturday. Yeah, he's ruled out. Yeah, so you got to play Freiermuth. Definitely. He's looked great, by the way. I think that was a pretty good draft pick by them. Just gave the app a 5-star rating. Thank you so much, man. Guys, if you're watching live on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We're so close to 5,000 YouTube subscribers. I honestly might cry when we get there. If you are watching live on TikTok, hit the like button. They add a like button to TikTok. Also, hit the follow button, guys, if you're not following us yet. For the future, Antonio Brown or Tyler Lockett. Yeah, they're really similar, honestly. But I'd probably go Tyler Lockett. I think I'd go Tyler Lockett. All right, let's answer the question, though. Would you start at flex Robert Woods, Jerry Jeudy, Emmanuel Sanders? I'm scared Woods will be limited in snaps. Let me pull up Robert Woods really quickly. I know there's a lot of injuries to monitor in the NFL right now. I think it's actually the biggest edge in fantasy football as the season goes on is monitoring the injuries. Yeah, Sean McVay said Robert Woods' foot did not practice this week, but he is expected to play Week 9 against the Titans. Neither Matthew Stafford or Robert Woods practice on Friday, but both are expected to play. Yeah, that is reason for concern. That's definitely reason for concern. But I don't think I would start Jerry Jeudy or Emmanuel Sanders over him. If anything, it's Jerry Jeudy, but Jerry Jeudy is a risk in himself. Jerry Judy's still working back to full speed also. And that could come back any given week, but you don't really know when it's going to come. So I still think I would go Robert Woods, and the Titans secondary really has not been good. The Titans have allowed the most fantasy points to receivers this season. So I still think you got to go with Robert Woods, even though there is that added risk of injury. Since Kyler is in question, yeah, we are under the assumption, by the way, I say this at the beginning of every stream, because you kind of have to make assumptions when we're talking about the different injuries this early in the day. You got to make some assumptions. And I'm currently assuming Kyler Murray is not going to play. Based on all of the things I've read, it looks like Kyler Murray's not going to play this week. So assuming Kyler Murray's not playing, Tyrod Taylor or Mac Jones in a 2 QB league, you got to go Tyrod Taylor. I think you have to go Tyrod Taylor. The Dolphins really have not been good. They've not been good. The bottom 5 secondary in the NFL, bottom 5 rush defense. And the Dolphins are also favored in this game, which makes sense because the Texans defense is also complete trash. But yeah, I think this Houston Texans Miami Dolphins game, like there's going to be some big fantasy points scored in this game. I think Brandon Cooks is going to have a massive day. I think Jalen Waddle, Tua, and Tyrod Taylor all could have big games. Hi, Sam. I gave a 5-star review. Kittle or Pat Freiermuth? Yeah, I would go Pat Freiermuth today. It's really hard to trust Kittle. We know he's going to be on a snap count. And he's also up against the Arizona Cardinals. I think the 49ers could beat the Arizona Cardinals pretty handily without Kyler Murray. But even more concerning for George Kittle, and why I think George Kittle is pretty much a must bench this week in almost every situation, the Cardinals have been dominant against tight ends this season. No defense has been better against tight ends than the Arizona Cardinals. They've allowed the least fantasy points per game to tight ends this entire season. I mean, really nobody, not a single tight end, I don't think has gone over 10 points. I actually don't know if there's not a single tight end that's gone over 8 fantasy points. Robert Tonyan had the best game against the Cardinals, and he had 7.9 points. Tyler Higbee, 7.6. Like, nobody's done anything against this defense at the tight end position. So, yeah, I think you've got to be benching George Kittle today. I think you need to bench George Kittle. What is a good survival pool pick this week? Yeah, this is a good one. I love the survival pools, honestly. I think the survival pool every single week is really interesting. Some teams I would definitely avoid picking today. I think there's some traps. And honestly, my favorite underdog today is the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons, I know no Calvin Ridley. Obviously, that's not good for the Atlanta Falcons. But the Atlanta Falcons are playing against Trevor Siemian and Taysom Hill today. Like, those guys do not scare me at all. And they're I think 6.5. What's the spread here? Yeah, 6-point underdogs. I mean, I like the Falcons. I would not be taking the Saints. I mean, if you haven't picked the Bills yet, the Bills are just 100% going to be the Jaguars. I also think the Cowboys are almost definitely going to be the Broncos. Those are probably the two biggest locks of the day in terms of who's going to win. I would stay away from the Chiefs because Jordan Love is a pretty big wild card, and the Chiefs' defense is bad. The Chiefs' defense is bottom 5. That's why they're not Super Bowl contenders in my eyes. I also don't hate the Patriots against the Panthers, but that's definitely not a lock by any means. There's going to be some upsets today. I think the Falcons upset the Saints. I think the Browns are also going to upset the Bengals. They're 1-point underdogs in that game. I don't know why they're underdogs in that game. Guys, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you're watching live on YouTube. We are almost at 100 likes on the YouTube live already. Brian Edwards or Myles Gaskin? Yeah, Gaskin's in a good spot today. Start Peoples-Jones. Yeah, Donovan Peoples-Jones is in a pretty good spot today too. I don't hate Donovan Peoples-Jones at all. When I talk to Browns.WalterPicks, Jack, our Browns creator on TikTok, if you haven't followed him yet, you got to go follow him. Really very in tune with the Browns. He's a very, very intelligent Browns fan. And I talked to him before the season. And the thing that stood out to me when I talked to him before the season was how deep the receiving group was on the Browns. Like, they have a depth at receiver. Anthony Schwartz came out of nowhere. He's really good. Donovan Peoples-Jones is very good. Rashard Higgins is very good. Like, they have a very deep receiving group. And yeah, so Donovan Peoples-Jones definitely startable this week. Brian Edwards versus Myles Gaskin is a good one. Pat Sullivan. I think I would probably go Gaskin. I mean, Gaskin's almost definitely going to touch the ball more than Brian Edwards today. And Gaskin also has a really good matchup against the Texans. Just gave the app a 5-star review. Who would you start at flex? Yeah, we already answered this one, I think. Woods, Judy, Sanders. I would go Woods. Teddy B or Tyrod Taylor? Yeah, I would personally go Tyrod Taylor. Van Jefferson or Gage? I really have such little faith in Gage. I have very little faith in Gage. I would go Van Jefferson. I like Van Jefferson a lot, by the way, rest of the season. He's in a really good offense. Chubb or Mixon. It's Nick Chubb week, man. It's Nick Chubb week every week for the rest of the season. Nick Chubb against the Bengals. The Bengals have been pretty good against running backs, but it doesn't really matter against Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb's going to see at least 15 carries today. Van Jefferson or Christian Kirk? I think I would go with Van Jefferson over Christian Kirk. I actually like Rondale Moore a little bit more than Christian Kirk this week. There's no AJ Green, though, and there's no DeAndre Hopkins, and that actually should help Christian Kirk more than it helps Rondale Moore. But the reason I like Rondale Moore more than Christian Kirk is there's also likely to be no Kyler Murray today. And I think that means there's going to be more schemed touches to Rondale Moore and less deep targets for Christian Kirk. Hyde or Adrian Peterson? I gave a 5-star review. Julian, thanks, man. Yeah, both. Like, here we are. It's the year 2021, and we're talking Carlos Hyde versus Adrian Peterson. What a time to be alive, man. I think I would go Adrian Peterson over Carlos Hyde. Like, I have more faith in Adrian Peterson than Carlos Hyde. But, like, honestly, Julian, this one's so close. And Carlos Hyde's probably going to touch the ball more than Adrian Peterson. But he's on the Jaguars. And I know Adrian Peterson's in a much better offense. And Carlos Hyde's also got to be worse than Adrian Peterson. I mean, Carlos Hyde's just very washed. DK lineup. Yeah, let me pull this up really quickly, Nick. At the bottom of the screen, you can see my DraftKings lineup if you're on the YouTube Live. If you're on TikTok, link is in the TikTok bio for the YouTube Live. CMC or Devonte Booker with a good matchup. Yeah, you got to go Christian McCaffrey. You have to start Christian McCaffrey. If you have Christian McCaffrey, you have to start Christian McCaffrey. Had the absence before last season. Wow, true OG with the WalterPicks out. 5-star review. Higgins or Kirk? Yeah, it's got to be Higgins. Again, I think Kirk sees increased work today. There's no DeAndre Hopkins. There's no AJ Green. But there's also no Kyler Murray. And that's not good. That's not good for Christian Kirk. Honestly, it's much better for Rondale Moore than it is Christian Kirk. Cardinals reportedly not optimistic DeAndre Hopkins hamstring plays today against the 49ers. And AJ Green already was ruled out. And Kyler Murray also seems like he's trending towards not playing. So it's going to be a much different Cardinals offense than we're used to. Pull up, who's the backup quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals? We're going to be seeing Colt McCoy. We're going to watch Colt McCoy go up against the San Francisco 49ers. We're watching Carlos Hyde, Adrian Peterson, and Colt McCoy today. And somehow the Cardinals are still only 3.5-point underdogs. Like, the 49ers are another good survival pool pick today. 3.5-point favorites at home. Like, the 49ers, they just can't lose to Colt McCoy. They're not going to lose to Colt McCoy. Let's be real. So, yeah, I like Rondale Moore. I don't like Christian Kirk that much with Colt McCoy at the helm. 2-year app subscriber. Wow, man. Booker or Gaskin? Yeah, I'd go Booker over Gaskin. They both have good matchups. Javonte Williams or Boston Scott? Oh, God. I think I would go Javonte Williams. I really do think I would go Javonte Williams. I understand the appeal of Boston Scott. The scary part about Boston Scott, though, is like Jordan Howard also will be involved. Kenny Gainwell also will be involved. And obviously Jalen Hurts is going to run himself too. I feel like the floor for Boston Scott is really low. The floor for Boston Scott's under 5 points. Like, I would not be surprised if Boston Scott scored 4 points. 40 yards, rushing, 0 touchdowns, 0 catches. Like, that is a stat line Boston Scott could finish with. Javonte Williams also has a pretty low floor, but to me, the floor is a little higher. So I think I would go Javonte Williams. They both have good matchups. The Cowboys have actually been pretty good, I think, against the run this season. Obviously, the Chargers have been really, really bad against the run. Yeah, the Cowboys have been good against the run. The Chargers have been, you adjust for strength of opponent, the Chargers have allowed the most rushing yards per game this season, which honestly, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Boston Scott does have the higher floor, given the matchups. If we ignored the matchups, I would argue Javonte Williams is the higher floor. You look at the matchups today, though, and maybe Boston Scott has the safer floor. And Melvin Gordon's just going to continue to be involved. I do like Javonte Williams in fantasy, though. I think Javonte Williams has league-winning upside. He's been really efficient. Like, Javonte Williams is good. Very good. He's had some of the most yards after first contact in the NFL. And he's, like, clearly more efficient than Melvin Gordon. So, yeah, I think I'd go Boston Scott after looking at the defensive numbers. And thanks for subscribing to the app, by the way, Marcus. Number one way you could possibly support me. Are Ravens a lock today? I don't think they're a lock. I do like them today. I'm taking them against the spread. Let me pull up my picks against the spread one more time. I am taking the Ravens against the spread, but I think that the Ravens defense is worse than being perceived by the public right now. I think the Ravens defense is a little overrated. They've allowed a lot of yards. Their defense has allowed a lot of yards and not that many touchdowns. And usually the yards predict touchdowns better than the touchdowns predict touchdowns. Any panic on Justin Herbert? No, I'm not panicking very much on Justin Herbert. I think you can panic a little bit about the Chargers. Like, their defense is struggling right now. Their run defense is really, really, really bad. But I'm not going to panic about Justin Herbert. No. Mike Williams, Zach Moss, yeah, you got to go Mike Williams. You got to go Mike Williams. You got to go Mike Williams. Stafford or Lamar, please, I need you. We are live on TikTok and YouTube right now. And if you come to the YouTube Live, you can see my top 10 quarterbacks this week. And if you come look at the top 10 quarterbacks, this question will be answered for you instantly. Like, you didn't even need me to respond because you could just come to the YouTube Live, see my top 10 quarterbacks. You see number 1 is Josh Allen. Number 2 is Lamar Jackson. Guys, you got to start Lamar Jackson. I know Stafford's been great. He's my number 5 quarterback, but you have to start Lamar Jackson. You have to start him. Hurts or Tua? What's your locks today? Yeah, okay, really quickly. Locks against the spread today. I think I only have one. There's one or two, I think. Yeah, there's two. My two locks against the spread. I like the Falcons. They're playing Trevor Siemian. Guys, Trevor Siemian's not good. And Taysom Hill also can't throw. So I think the Falcons could pretty easily beat the Saints in this game. I know the Saints are coming off a couple pretty good games. The Falcons have been struggling. No Calvin Ridley for the Falcons. Saints defense is good. But the Saints offense is not. Like, really, the Falcons just have to stop Alvin Kamara, and boom, they could win the game. And the other game I think is like a complete lock. The 49ers just are going to beat the Cardinals. The Cardinals are going to be trotting out Colt McCoy with no DeAndre Hopkins, no AJ Green, and they're also without JJ Watt. Like, the 49ers are going to put up 30-plus points in this game. I don't think this is going to be a game where the Cardinals put up 30-plus. And I've said every single week, basically every single week, that the Cardinals are going to score 30-plus in this game. And every single week except for one, the Cardinals have scored at least 30 points. The offense is the best offense in the league this season. But they have no Kyler Murray. They have no DeAndre Hopkins. Like, you gotta trust the 49ers at home. So those are my two locks. Falcons is underdogs. 49ers is slight favorites. But when it comes to players, and some of the players that I think are locks today, I mean, Nick Chubb, you got to be loving Nick Chubb today. No Kareem Hunt again. Nick Chubb has had at least 60 yards in every single game. He's still the most efficient running back in the NFL. He's still going to see at least 15 touches. Like, you got to like Nick Chubb a lot against the Bengals. I think that you have to be starting Christian McCaffrey. He's by no means a lock. He's going to be on some sort of a snap count, but you got to be starting him. It's Christian McCaffrey. Guys, Christian McCaffrey's gotten over 20 fantasy points in 90% of his games over the last 2.5 years. I got a good question here. Damian Harris or Zach Moss? Yeah, you got to go Zach Moss over Damian Harris this week. I like Damian Harris this week. Like, I do. But the Cardinals defense the Panthers defense is just so astronomically better than the Houston Texans defense. You got to be going with Zach Moss. Zach Moss is a really good play this week. Jordan Love or Tyrod Taylor. Yeah, I knew we were going to have to talk about Jordan Love on this stream. And I got to be totally honest with you. And I was pretty consistent with this throughout the offseason, with the Aaron Rodgers drama this offseason, that I think part of the leverage that Aaron Rodgers had this offseason, and part of the reason he did what he did, was because he knew Jordan Love wasn't that good. And knew the Packers knew that Jordan Love wasn't that good. Now, I'm not saying that Jordan Love can't be good. Jordan Love can be good. The Packers have a pretty good history of picking the right quarterbacks over the last 30 years. But there's definitely risk with Jordan Love. Like, there's just a lot of uncertainty with Jordan Love. This is his first ever start in the NFL. Tyrod Taylor also gets the Dolphins, and the Dolphins are not good. But Jordan Love gets the Chiefs. The Chiefs also not good at defense. I think both Jordan Love and Tyrod Taylor strongly on the streaming quarterback radar this week. Personally, though, I'd be going with Jordan Love. Jordan Love has Devonte Adams, Aaron Jones, and the Chiefs. I'm very, very confident the Chiefs are going to put up points against the Packers. I'm not concerned about the Chiefs offense at all. I haven't been concerned this whole season. I don't think you should be concerned about the Chiefs offense. And so for that reason, I think I'd go Jordan Love. I think Jordan Love is a sneaky play this week. Renfro or Edwards? Yeah, Marty, this is a good one. I'm starting both those guys in my DraftKings lineup this week because at least one of them is going to do well. I think Renfro is a much safer option than Bryan Edwards, but Bryan Edwards fits the Henry Ruggs role better than Hunter Renfro. Like, Bryan Edwards is a deep threat type of guy. So I think the ceiling's higher for Bryan Edwards, but the floor is definitely better for Hunter Renfro. I liked and subscribed. Thanks, Cody. Yeah, guys, if you're watching live on YouTube, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. It takes you 2 seconds and actually helps me out tremendously. And we're so close to 5,000 YouTube subscribers. It's been a big goal of mine, really, for the past 2.5 years of building this YouTube channel up. So I do appreciate that. All right, let's get to this start sit question now. And by the way, if you guys haven't tried out the WalterPicks app yet, it also can help you with your start sit decisions. The WalterPicks app uses Walter, an artificially intelligent algorithm that I helped build to give you boom and bust probabilities for every single player based on 10,000 simulations of the week, and to give you machine learning projections for every single player. So it really gives you the info you need to make your start sit decisions. All right, should I start Kirk Cousins or pick up Tua or Jordan Love? Thanks. Yeah, I think I would go Kirk Cousins. I think I would go Kirk Cousins over Tua and over Jordan Love, though all three of these guys could easily outscore the other two. Like, I won't be surprised if Jordan Love outscores Tua, outscores Kirk Cousins. I won't be surprised if Tua outscores Jordan Love, outscores Kirk Cousins. But to me, Kirk Cousins is the best bet to play in fantasy this week. And for a lot of the reasons I've already talked about, like, I think the Ravens defense is overrated. The Ravens defense has allowed a lot of yards, a lot more yards than they have fantasy points. The Ravens defense actually has allowed the most passing yards per game to quarterbacks this season. Not a single defense has allowed more passing yards per game. Meanwhile, they're like dead middle in terms of fantasy points allowed. So the Ravens have been kind of this bend, don't break defense, which I don't think is a sustainable way to play defense. Yards correlate better to touchdowns than touchdowns do. This is, again, a hard thing to wrap your head around sometimes, but yards are not very random. Touchdowns are very, very random. That's why I think the Ravens defense is overrated. And that's why I think you can start Kirk Cousins with a lot of confidence today. I think Justin Jefferson could have a big game. I think Adam Thielen can have a big game. Dalvin Cook almost definitely going to have a big game. But yeah, I like Kirk Cousins the most. But I don't hate Tyrod Taylor or Tua or Jordan Love. I think all those guys are pretty good options. All right, just subscribe to the channel. Thanks so much, man. Start one at flex, full PPR, Hunter Renfrow, Damian Harris, or Darrell Williams. Yeah, I think it's between the first two for me. I think I would lean towards Hunter Renfrow, though. Hunter Renfrow is a pretty safe bet, especially if this is a PPR league. Yeah, you say full PPR. Thanks for that context. Yeah, full PPR, I think you go Hunter Renfrow over Damian Harris. Do I start D-Hop or Christian Kirk? DeAndre Hopkins, unlikely to play today. DeAndre Hopkins and Kyler Murray, both unlikely to play today. That's why I think 49ers, -3.5 at home against the Cardinals are a lock. It's going to be Colt McCoy throwing to Christian Kirk, throwing to Rondale Moore because there's no A.J. Green either. Do I start Christian McCaffrey? Yeah, you do. You start Christian McCaffrey. 5-star review. Thank you so much. The 5-star reviews for the WalterPicks app help a ton. I do appreciate them. Jacoby Myers or Khalil Herbert at flex? Yeah, I think Khalil Herbert is extremely risky this week. David Montgomery is back. And he's probably not going to see the full David Montgomery workload, but he's definitely going to steal some touches away from Khalil Herbert. I don't think you can trust Khalil Herbert. Which Steelers running back? I like Jeremy McNichols a little bit more than Adrian Peterson in a PPR league because Jeremy McNichols is the better receiving back. But if it's not a PPR league, I think I'd go Adrian Peterson. And I think it's going to be really close. And I think Adrian Peterson has the better chance at a touchdown. Goddard or Kittle? Yeah, Kittle, you got to bench Kittle this week. There's several different reasons why you need to be benched. Thanks for the gifts in the TikTok live. I do appreciate that. There's a lot of different reasons why you need to be benching George Kittle this week. Number one is he's going to be on a snap count. So that's reason number one. He's going to be on the snap count, and he is going to not see his full allotment of snaps. But on top of that, even if he was playing the full game, the Arizona Cardinals have had the single best defense against tight ends this season. Not a single tight end, not a single one. We're in week 9. Not a single tight end has scored more than 8 points against the Arizona Cardinals. So I think the floor is just so low. Love listening to you. I just gave a 5-star review. Thanks, man. Nicole, I do appreciate that. Should we still start Deebo Samuel? If not, Rondale Moore or David Montgomery? Yeah, I wouldn't be starting David Montgomery this week either. I think David Montgomery is even riskier than Khalil Herbert. I think Khalil Herbert's risky because of David Montgomery. But, just the workload for David Montgomery is so unpredictable this week. It feels like the floor for David Montgomery is 10 touches or less. I won't be surprised if he just gets 10 touches, 5 points, and that's the day for David Montgomery. Deebo Samuel has the highest ceiling of all the guys mentioned. He's been just an absolute beast. He's been a top 10 receiver in fantasy this season. He actually might even be top 5. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but he had 177 yards last week. He's been on an absolute tear. I do like Rondale Moore, but I don't think you can be starting Rondale Moore with Deebo Samuel. Even with Deebo Samuel questionable, it is good, though, that you have both guys, because if Deebo Samuel is ruled out, you can always go with Rondale Moore because they're in the same game. But yeah, Deebo Samuel. He's the number 3 receiver this season. You just got to start him, even with the concern. I think you still got to go with Deebo Samuel. How long until the Android version is released? Android people, we're so close, guys. I saw the WalterPicks app on an actual Android phone this week. It's in beta. I saw the WalterPicks app on a little Android phone that I was holding. Very exciting. We're like a couple weeks away, Owen. A couple weeks away. Also, Judy, Myers, or Moss. Yeah, I think Moss is the safest of these guys. Judy and Myers have the higher ceiling to me. Myers, for whatever reason, is allergic to the end zone. He hasn't scored a touchdown his entire NFL career. He actually has the most yards ever. Jacoby Myers, the most yards of all time without a touchdown in the NFL, or at least the most active. Maybe not all the time, but he's definitely leading the league right now. Active players, the most yards in the active NFL without a touchdown. That's Jacoby Myers. Jerry Jeudy, to me, is also a very boom-bust play in fantasy right now. He's not back to full strength yet, but that could happen any given week. So do you think this is going to be the week Jerry Jeudy comes back to full strength? It definitely could be, but it also could be next week or the week after that. So yeah, that's why I would go Zach Moss. Zach Moss is a 14.5-point favorite against the Jaguars. And to me, the Bills could beat the Jaguars by 30-plus points today. Should I start Waddle over DeAndre Hopkins? Yeah, DeAndre Hopkins is not playing. Guys, get DeAndre Hopkins out of your lineup. It has not been confirmed, 100% confirmed, but it's like 90% chance it feels like DeAndre Hopkins not going to play. I'm seeing some people in the TikTok chat that they like Adrian Peterson more than Jeremy McNichols in every format, and I understand that. I do understand it. I do think Adrian Peterson's a better bet than Jeremy McNichols, but McNichols is a good receiver. He is a good receiver. Panthers plan for QB Sam Darnold to start today versus the Patriots, barring any pregame setbacks. Darnold was questionable with a concussion. He cleared concussion protocol, but he also has some sort of a shoulder injury. I guess he's playing through that. I'd like the Patriots -3.5 today. Not much optimism that DeAndre Hopkins, Kyler Murray, or James Robinson are going to play, though Deebo Samuel, A.J. Brown, Rashad Bateman, Sam Darnold, Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Robert Woods, Elijah Mitchell, Rashad Bateman, all these guys are starting, or at least looking like they're going to start this week. All right, let's get back to some of the comments in the chat. Let me mix up what's scrolling at the bottom of the YouTube live. Again, we're live on TikTok and YouTube right now. I'll pull my top 10 wide receivers. Hey, man, love the TikTok and the YouTube. I don't have iOS, or I would give you the 5-star 100 times. Thanks, man. I appreciate the honesty there, too. Huge game this week. What do you think in a PPR league? Brandon Ayuk, the Bazooka, Taj Sharp, or Rashad Bateman today? Yeah, Taj Sharp is probably going to be the number one receiver for the Falcons in this game. I mean, what a season that's going on right now, where Taj Sharp is going to be likely the number one receiver for the Falcons. Though, honestly, I think Cordell Patterson is probably going to lead that team in receiving yards today. But Taj Sharp had 6 targets, 58 yards last week. He played a little over 60% of the snaps. Like Taj Sharp, it would be my bet of the receiving group to lead them in receiving yards. But I think Brandon Ayuk is the play. I really do think Brandon Ayuk is the play. Ayuk played his highest percentage of the snaps. He had the most targets last week. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you Ayuk is a lock. Because, I mean, anyone that has that much confidence in Ayuk is clearly just an overconfident human being. Brandon Ayuk has had just such an abysmal season. But you got to take the whole context, everything into context for Brandon Ayuk. Brandon Ayuk was a top 5 rookie receiver last season in a historically good rookie wide receiver class. And he's coming off of a game. He played 90% of the snaps. He had not had a game with more than 70% of the snaps this season. And you go back to last season, and he was playing 90% of the snaps in almost every single game. It feels like Brandon Ayuk is out of the doghouse for the San Francisco 49ers. I think that his ceiling is really, really high. The talent has always been there for Brandon Ayuk. And then on top of that, Deebo Samuel is very questionable for the game. It looks like Deebo Samuel is going to play, but he is questionable. So, yeah, I think you go Ayuk. I think this is the week to trot out Ayuk. The floor is low. He's scored under 5.5 points in the majority of his games this season. But I just won't be that surprised if this is a breakout game for Brandon Ayuk. All right, just gave a 5-star review. Thanks, man. Should I start Jacobs or Mixon? Yeah, it's Mixon. It's Mixon. It's 100% Mixon. Mixon and Patterson today. How do you think Joe Mixon and Cordell Patterson will do today? Cordell Patterson's in a really interesting spot. Cordell Patterson, by the way, I am the biggest Cordell Patterson fan this season. I did 500 best ball drafts before the season over on Underdog Fantasy. Use code Walter if you've never signed up before. You get I think $100 deposit, $25 deposit bonus, or maybe 100% deposit. You get some sort of deposit bonus. But I had Cordell Patterson in 30% of those drafts. He was my most drafted player. And he has a legitimate chance to win me $1 million in that contest. So I'm a huge Cordell Patterson. But he's got a tough matchup this week. He's up against the Saints defense that I believe has allowed the least points to running backs this season. Or maybe the least points to receivers. Let me pull this up. Yeah, the Saints have allowed the 4th least points to running backs. They've also been really good against receivers. So it's not a good matchup. Sorry, just kidding. They've been really bad against receivers. They've allowed the 4th most points to receivers, the 4th least points to running backs. This is the New Orleans Saints. But the Saints are also playing Trevor Siemian today. I think the Falcons beat the Saints today. I like Cordell Patterson today. And I think Calvin Ridley being out helps Cordell Patterson more than any other player on the Falcons. There's just more incentive for the Falcons to run their offense through who's been their most efficient player. So I think Patterson has a good game today. I think he scores a touchdown. Won't be surprised if he gets close to 100 yards total. And I think Joe Mixon has a good game too. Joe Mixon back to full health now. I like the Browns to win that game, but Joe Mixon's workload is really top 10 in the NFL. Devonte Smith or Jalen Waddle. Yeah, this one's really not close this week. It's really not close. Honestly, it might not even be close rest of season. Like, it's Jalen Waddle. It's definitely Jalen Waddle. Devontae Parker out today. You get the Houston Texans. Waddle has really been dominating the targets for the Miami Dolphins. Hey, Sam, 5-star on the app. I got a trade and got offered Dalvin and Emmanuel for Sanders and Emmanuel Sanders for Alvin Kamara. Full PPR thoughts. Yeah, I like Dalvin Cook more than Alvin Kamara rest of the season. I like Dalvin Cook more than Alvin Kamara rest of the season. I think they're really close. But to me, Dalvin Cook has the higher ceiling and is in the better offense. Like, the Saints offense isn't very good, guys. Trevor Siemian's not good. Taysom Hill is not good. Like, that's a lot of risk. The whole Saints offense is so much risk. And I know Alvin Kamara is like locked into just so much work, but Dalvin Cook is too. Ayuk or Boston Scott? Yeah, I'd probably go Ayuk over Boston Scott, but Boston Scott's definitely safer. Is Kyler playing? No, it doesn't look like Kyler's playing. DFS lineup. Yeah, let me really quickly pull this up on the YouTube Live again. You can come to the YouTube Live. You can see it right at the bottom of the screen. I'll talk through it really quickly too. Lamar Jackson at quarterback, Nick Chubb, Dalvin Cook at running back. I'm starting with these three complete studs. Like, I'm paying up for Lamar Jackson, I'm paying up for Nick Chubb, and I'm paying up for Dalvin Cook in my DraftKings lineup. And to get those guys into my lineup, I'm paying down for Hunter Renfrow. I'm paying down for Bryan Edwards because at least one of those guys is going to go off today. In absence of Henry Ruggs, Bryan Edwards fills the Henry Ruggs role better than Hunter Renfrow, but Hunter Renfrow has been the favored target over Bryan Edwards this season. So I think at least one of those guys is going to do better, if not both. I'm also paying down for Rondale Moore because the Cardinals are going to be without Kyler Murray today. They're also going to be without DeAndre Hopkins. They're also going to be without A.J. Green. And DeAndre Hopkins and A.J. Green being out, it should actually be better for Christian Kirk than Rondale Moore. But Kyler Murray being out, to me, is much better for Rondale Moore than Christian Kirk. Rondale Moore has not been running routes down the field. Like, Rondale Moore has been the guy that they scheme touches to around the line of scrimmage. And that's what they're going to have to do with Colt McCoy playing at quarterback. So I like Rondale Moore this week too. At flex, I'm going with Cordell Patterson. I think Cordell Patterson's locked into 15-plus touches against a really not very intimidating Saints offense or defense. So I go Cordell Patterson at flex. I'm playing Dallas Goedert at tight end. Goddard has a really good matchup this week. There's a bunch of interesting tight end options. I think Darren Waller is the number one play at tight end this week on DraftKings and FanDuel, but I couldn't afford him in this lineup. And I went with Hunter Renfrow, Bryan Edwards, so I didn't want three Raiders on the same squad. And then at defense, I'm going with the Falcons defense. Again, Trevor Siemian just does not scare me. Is AP a play? Yeah, I think he is a play, but there's definitely a lot of risk with Adrian Peterson. I don't think he has really any receiving upside. Like, I think he could easily score a touchdown, but to me, he's not a lock. Like, Jeremy McNichols is a better receiver than him. A.J. Brown or Bryan Edwards? We said this at the beginning of the stream. Let me repeat this. We actually said this 3 weeks ago. We've said it every single week since. If you have A.J. Brown on your fantasy team, first of all, congratulations. Fantastic pick. And good job hanging on to A.J. Brown through the tough times at the beginning of the season, because A.J. Brown is now locked into your starting lineup for the rest of the season. Like, A.J. Brown, you're not going to trade him. Do not trade him. You take A.J. Brown, you put him into your starting lineup, and you do not move him from that spot for the rest of the season. So, yeah, there should be zero A.J. Brown questions. No, you're not going to play Bryan Edwards over A.J. Brown. Another guy that I think this could be the week for is Brandon Ayuka, the Bazooka. We were just talking about him. I just put him up on the TikTok Live. Hey, Sam, Tua or Daniel Jones, half PPR also. Raiders or Saints defense. Yeah, I mean, half PPR I don't think matters for quarterbacks. Tua has a really good matchup today. Really good matchup today against the Texans. Tua has really been, like, I feel like people are so down on Tua. They have been really since he entered the league. But he has played better than people give him credit for. And he gets the Houston Texans today. There's no Devonte Parker, which isn't great. But I think Tua has a pretty safe floor. So I think I would probably go Tua over Daniel Jones. Kenny Golladay back today for Daniel Jones. I think Kadarius Toney's in. Sterling Shepard out. Obviously, Saquon Barkley out against the Raiders. The Raiders have been, let me pull up the stats really quickly for these two defenses. The Texans have allowed the 8th most points to quarterbacks this season. The Raiders defense has actually been good, by the way. The Raiders defense has impressed me this season. They've allowed the 19th most points. So yeah, I think you got to go Tua. I think you got to go Tua. So both these guys, Tua and Daniel Jones, to me, like, I didn't like Daniel Jones when he was drafted. I really have been kind of a critic of Daniel Jones his career so far, but I think he's done much, much better than expected this season, and he also deserves a little bit more credit. So Dearness Johnson or Devin Singletary? Yeah, definitely Devin Singletary. Definitely Devin Singletary. Guys, Devin Singletary is a 14.5-point favorite against the Jaguars, and I actually think that spread is too low. Like, I think the Bills could beat the Jaguars by more than 30 points. Booker or Edwards? Yeah, this one's close. I think you got to go Devonte Booker this week. If you have him, Devonte Booker is really in a good spot. He saw a very big workload last week. It might not be quite as big this week with Kenny Golladay returning. But Devonte Booker is locked into running back one volume. I don't think he is a running back one, but he's locked into running back one volume. He had 125 yards. He had 21 touches last week, 16 carries, 5 catches. He played 93% of the snaps last week. Devonte Booker has had at least 10 points in 4 consecutive games. He's had at least 14 points in 3 of those 4 games. So yeah, I think you go Devonte Booker. Like I like Bryan Edwards. Don't get me. I like Bryan Edwards. I'm playing him in my DraftKings lineup. But Bryan Edwards is not a lock. Like Bryan Edwards is a little risky. I think Hunter Renfrow is pretty safe. Edwards is risky, but together they actually have a really good floor ceiling combination. So I think Renfrow and Edwards together in a head-to-head lineup I think is really strong this week. But yeah, I would personally be going Devonte Booker overall. Should I start Montgomery? No, I don't think you should start Montgomery. I don't think you should start Carlos Hyde. I don't think you should start Khalil Herbert. I would go Khalil Herbert, I think, over Carlos Hyde. But guys, Khalil Herbert is a trap this week. Montgomery is back. And that's going to eat into Khalil Herbert's workload. Darrell Williams or Zach Moss. Yeah, I'd go Zach Moss. I don't love Darrell Williams. Herbert or AP? God, Adrian Peterson is really a wild card. He really is a wild card. I think I would go with Adrian Peterson over Khalil Herbert, though. Herbert or Mike Davis. Yeah, another guy that's benefiting from the Calvin Ridley absence is Mike Davis. Like, Mike Davis is just – they have to use Cordell Patterson more, but they also have to use Mike Davis more. But this is not a good matchup for Mike Davis against the Saints. So I don't love Mike Davis this week. I think I'd probably go Herbert over Mike Davis. Tua or Tyrod? Yeah, guys, there's a lot of deep quarterback plays. Tua is a pretty good sleeper. Tyrod Taylor, pretty good sleeper. We have there's one other guy that we've been talking about. I think Daniel Jones. I think I would go Tua over Tyrod. But I think both guys. I actually think the Texans beat the Dolphins. I think both guys are going to be top 12 quarterbacks this week. Devonte Booker or Darrell Williams? Yeah, I'd go Devonte Booker. CMC or Zeke? Yeah, it's got to be Zeke. It's got to be Zeke. I like CMC. I think you got to start CMC, but you definitely cannot be benching Zeke. Hey, Sam, you helped me win my league last season. Ruben, that is what I'm talking about, man. Ruben, we are going back-to-back this season, though. That's the goal. Last season doesn't matter anymore. It's all about this season now. Start 2, full PPR. Let's do this. Khalil Herbert, Melvin Gordon, Bryan Edwards, or Darrell Williams. Yeah, I think you got to go Bryan Edwards in this situation. And honestly, I think I'd go Darrell Williams over Melvin Gordon and over Khalil Herbert too. I think I'd go with the last two. Thanks for tuning in, by the way. Guys, if you're tuning in right now, thank you so much for spending some time with me this Sunday morning. I'll be live for the next 2 hours. We've already been live for an hour. I'll be live for the next 2 hours. We've got plenty more comments to get to, plenty more to talk about. And there's just so many storylines to follow in the NFL right now. If you are tuned in, hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. When we get 200 likes on the YouTube Live, and we got 150 people in the YouTube Live right now, so smash the like button. When we get to 200 likes, we got a free prop pick that I like a lot today. I do want to share that one with you guys. We're already, I think, over 100 likes on the YouTube Live, really close at least. Yeah, we just passed 100 likes on the YouTube Live, so thank you for getting us there. We need 100 more, and then we got a free prop pick today. We're all so close to 5,000 YouTube subscribers as well. Link is in the TikTok bio, by the way, to come to the YouTube Live where you can see my DraftKings lineup, my picks against the spread, my top 10 rankings, quarterbacks, wide receivers, running backs, tight ends. Pull up my wide receiver rankings. Number 1, by the way, Cooper Kupp. I mean, God, Cooper Kupp is just unstoppable. Cooper Kupp's over-under today, by the way, 99.5 receiving yards, and he's probably going over. He's probably going to go over that. They get the Tennessee Titans this week, who have allowed the most points per game to wide receivers. CeeDee Lamb or T. Higgins? Yeah, I'd go CeeDee Lamb. Wait, so why exactly wouldn't you start Montgomery? Yeah, so I think Montgomery, it's just not clear exactly what the workload's going to be for Montgomery. He's been out for a while with an injury. I think there's a chance that we see Montgomery get fewer than 10 touches this week. But the range of outcomes for Montgomery is just really, really wide. He was really seeing a workhorse role, but Khalil Herbert has played really well without David Montgomery. So I think they're both going to be involved. That's why I think they're both really risky. If they split the carries and the touches in this backfield, I think they both have just a ton of risk. That's why I don't like either of them this week. One of them is probably going to end up doing well. One of them is probably going to score a touchdown. But it seems like Montgomery is going to get at least some work on Monday night. Jamal Agnew or Julio Jones? Man, I love this one. Jamal Agnew was, if you've been reading the 10 transactions in the WalterPicks app, which, by the way, is completely free. It's 100% free. In the WalterPicks app, every single week, we're telling you 10 people that you should add, that you should drop, that you should trade for, or that you should trade away. And this week, one of the ads that I wrote about in that 10 transactions column in the WalterPicks app on the iOS App Store was Jamal Agnew. Jamal Agnew, over the last 3 weeks, since DJ Chark has been out, Jamal Agnew is leading the Jaguars in targets. I mean, what a joke. What a joke. Just insane. But I'm not playing him over Julio Jones. Like, I don't want to play Jamal Agnew. You have to add Jamal Agnew because volume matters in fantasy. But, like, I don't want to play Jamal Agnew. Like, I was experiencing physical pain writing that one up. Like, Jamal Agnew, LaVisca Chenault, and Marvin Jones are on his team. Hey, Sam, I'm a Champion Gold subscriber. Gabriel, thanks so much, man. Yeah, any of the premium subscriptions in the WalterPicks app, whether it be Champion subscription for the fantasy tools or Champion Gold subscription for the fantasy tools, player prop tools, and DraftKings and FanDuel tools, I appreciate it so much. Seriously, all of the premium subscribers in the WalterPicks app, like, you are the reason right now I'm getting to live out a dream of doing this full time. All right, let's answer this question, though. Kittle or Freiermuth or Sweeney? They said Kittle is on a snap count. Should I pick up 49ers defense this week? Yeah, 49ers defense is becoming better and better and better. I do think 49ers defense is a pretty good sneaky ad. There's no Kyler Murray today. There's no DeAndre Hopkins today. There's no AJ Green today. Like, yeah, the 49ers are probably going to win. That's why I like the 3.5 point spread for the 49ers. To me is a lock today. And I think you have to bench George Kittle today. Because not only is George Kittle going to be on a snap count, but George Kittle also is really this is the worst possible matchup for George Kittle. The Cardinals have had the number one defense against tight ends. Why Ayuk? Listen, don't get me wrong. Ayuk is not a lock. Brandon Ayuk has so much risk. He's been such a disappointment this season. But things are trending in the right direction for Brandon Ayuk. He played 90% of the snaps last week. That's the most he's played since his rookie season. He had a season high, I think it was 9 targets last week. He's out of the doghouse in a time where the 49ers need him desperately. George Kittle coming back, but not going to be on a full snap count. Deebo Samuel, questionable, likely to play, but also dealing with an injury. Ayuk is fully healthy. I think Ayuk is a good play today. I think he's a good play. I think he's a wide receiver 3 with wide receiver 1 upside. That's what I think Ayuk is. Hey, Sam, been a 2-year supporter of the app and a 5-star review. Jonah, thank you so much, man. Pick 2, Edmonds, AP, and Moss. Edmonds, AP, and Moss. Yeah, I think Chase Edmonds is a pretty good play today. I think Zach Moss is I would probably go Chase Edmonds and Zach Moss. Like, if you have good options to play over Adrian Peterson, to me, Adrian Peterson's not like a lock. There's a lot of uncertainty around Adrian Peterson's role too. So if you have guys like Chase Edmonds, guys like Zach Moss again, it's just such a good spot for Zach Moss against the Jaguars. Then just bench AP for 1 week. Let's see what the role looks like for Adrian Peterson. Bateman or Ayuk? Oh God. I really think it's Ayuk. I have a feeling that if you were to plug that start sit question into the WalterPicks app, which uses machine learning, AI, and it simulates each week 10,000 times to give us like the range of outcomes for a player, boom and bust probabilities, also the best possible projections for each player. And really, like, it's all based off volume and projected volume. And I have a feeling Walter in the WalterPicks app, our AI algorithm, would say Rashad Bateman over Ayuk. But personally, I'm going Ayuk over Rashad Bateman. Like, I like Ayuk more than Rashad Bateman this week. I think Bateman just has a lot more competition. I do like Bateman, though, rest of the season. Like, I do like Bateman. Hey, Sam, I love the WalterPicks app. Thanks, man. Hunter Henry or George Kittle? Again, yeah, I think you have to bench Kittle this week. Bad matchup. Cardinals have been the number 1 defense against tight ends. Not a single tight end has scored more than 8 points against them. They haven't had a single tight end score more than 8 points against them. And Kittle's on the snap count. Deebo or Jefferson? Yeah, do not bench Justin Jefferson. Sleeper at QB because Kyler's out. Yeah, Ryan, there's a bunch of sleepers at QB this week. I think the top 2, though, are in that Texans-Dolphins game. Tua versus Tyrod Taylor. The Dolphins allowing, I think, top 10 points per game to quarterbacks. The Texans, yeah, the Dolphins have allowed the 4th most points per game to quarterbacks this season. The Texans have allowed the 8th most points per game to quarterbacks this season. I think that Dolphins-Texans game could sneakily be like a shootout game with tons of fantasy points. Don't ignore that game today if you're playing DraftKings and FanDuel. I think Brandon Cooks could have a massive day. I think Jalen Waddle could have a massive day. Moss or Ayuk? Yeah, you got to go Moss over Ayuk. I mean, the floor for Moss is just so much higher than Ayuk. Like, Ayuk's floor is really low. Don't twist my words here. I like Ayuk this week. His floor is still 3 points. Like, this is what Ayuk's been this season. I don't think he's going to score 3 points. I think he's going to go over 10. But Zach Moss' floor is definitely over 7 points. Like, again, Zach Moss and Devin Singletary, they're just in such a good spot. They're 14.5 point favorites against the Jaguars. I think the Bills beat the Jaguars by more than 14.5. Devonte Booker or Rondale Moore? Yeah, I'd go Devonte Booker. I like Rondale Moore this week too. The running backs just have safer floors. Tony or Myers. Jacoby Myers. I'm a huge fan of Jacoby Myers. I'm rocking my Julian Edelman jersey right now. To me, Jacoby Myers is kind of the next Julian Edelman. He's really playing the Julian Edelman role really, really, really well for the Patriots. And I would argue he's even a better deep threat than Edelman ever was. But I still don't think I would go Jacoby Myers there. Patterson or CMC to play with Eckler. Yeah, I'd go Patterson over CMC this week. I still think most situations you want to start CMC, but Patterson is in a good spot. You like Van Jefferson this week? Yeah, I love Van Jefferson this week. I like Van Jefferson the rest of the season. Van Jefferson is a must-add. If he's available in your league, you got to go at him. Deshaun Jackson's gone. Robert Woods is dealing with an injury. And the Rams have been the most efficient passing attack in the NFL this season. Just gave a 5-star review. AP, Bateman, or Tony non-PPR. Yeah, in a non-PPR league, Adrian Peterson gets a massive, massive boost. I think I would go Adrian Peterson. If not, though, it's Kadarius Toney. Hey, Sam, 5-star rater on the App Store, 5 times champion subscriber on the app. Wow. I don't think we've had the app for five years, but I appreciate it. 10-year undefeated in fantasy because of you. Wow. This seems a little bit like a lie, but it's okay. I appreciate the positivity anyway. Josh Jacobs or Devonte Booker. It's Devonte Booker over Josh Jacobs. I'm really not in on Josh Jacobs this week. I don't like Josh Jacobs this week, really at all. And I know Josh Jacobs has been dealing with some injuries this season. He gets the Giants. The Giants are a pretty good matchup this week for him. The Giants have actually been, I think, worse against wide receivers than they have against running backs. They're allowing the 11th most points to running backs this season. And they're right the same, 11th most points to receivers. I'm not a huge Josh Jacobs fan this week. That could come back to haunt me, though, because he's probably going to see at least 15 carries. What are your picks against the spread? Yeah, I'm going to pull these up on the YouTube Live. The link is in the TikTok bio, by the way. If you are watching live on TikTok, you can see all my picks against the spread. Guys, I've been way better against the spread than I could have possibly imagined this season, and I'm very honest and transparent about this. I really don't bet against the spread. I think it's a loser's game if you're actually trying to make money. Betting against the spread is incredibly difficult. But we've had 57% accuracy against the spread just on the YouTube Live. And I give away lock picks every week, my most confident picks. Those are 69% nice against the spread this season. Absolutely insane. I have 2 locks today. One of them is the Falcons, 6-point underdogs against the Saints. Trevor Siemian is a 6-point favorite. I mean, come on. And then the 49ers, 3.5-point favorites against the Cardinals and Colt McCoy. The 49ers could destroy the Cardinals in this game. Marvin Jones or Ayuk. Please talk about McNichols. I would probably go Ayuk over Marvin Jones. The Jaguars are just the Bills defense, first of all, is good. And the Jaguars are just a team it's so hard to get behind anyone on the Jaguars. I won't be surprised if everyone on the Jaguars is a complete bust this week. The Bills defense is good. Talk about Jeremy McNichols. Jeremy McNichols, to me, is a guy that he has a very interesting skill set. He is a good receiver. This is the remaining running back for the Titans after the Derrick Henry injury. Darrington Evans was actually the backup. He got hurt earlier in the season. Jeremy McNichols is a good athlete. He's an 80th percentile athlete. He's a good receiver. He had a, 90th percentile target share in college, 80th percentile target share in college. He hasn't played very much in the NFL, but he has been a part. He had a game earlier this season in week 4. He had 12 targets in that game. I think he's going to have the receiving role locked down. That's why I like Jeremy McNichols in PPR leagues more than Adrian Peterson. I think Adrian Peterson's probably the better bet for rest of season. He's probably the better bet to score more touchdowns, but I don't think McNichols is out of the question to have a reasonable fantasy viable role in this backfield. Those are my thoughts on Jeremy McNichols. I think he is, in a lot of situations you could start him. Landry, Renfrow, Ayuk, or Edwards in the flex. Coming from Tad. Landry, Renfrow, Ayuk, or Edwards in the flex. Yeah, to me, if you're deciding between Renfrow and Edwards, personally, I think you almost have to go Hunter Renfrow. I am a big believer in Bryan Edwards. I like the talent of Bryan Edwards. I think he fills the Henry Ruggs role better than Hunter Renfrow. I think Bryan Edwards fills the Henry Ruggs role better than Hunter Renfrow. But I still think Renfro's the safer play in fantasy. Renfro's just locked in to much better volume at the current moment. So I think this week I'd go Renfrow over Edwards. But that being said, I like Jarvis Landry a lot this week. I think I would go Jarvis Landry over Renfrow, over Ayuk, over Edwards. Jarvis Landry is the clear wide receiver 1 for the Browns. against the Bengals. The Bengals, guys, the last time the Bengals were on a football field, they allowed over 400 passing yards to Mike White. This is a good bounce back spot. A good bounce back spot for the Cleveland Browns. All right, just gave a 5-star review. Thank you so much. Yeah, guys, 5-star reviews in the WalterPicks app. If I help you at all on this live stream, if anything I say resonates with you at all or helps you at all, and I get to your question or answer a question related, or you come to the YouTube live in my top 10 rankings, quarterbacks, wide receivers, running backs, tight ends, or picks against the spread help you out, a 5-star review in the iOS App Store for the WalterPicks app helps out just tremendously. It takes you like literally 1 minute, so I appreciate it. DJ Moore, Ayuk, or Tony. Yeah, you got to go DJ Moore. You kind of have to go DJ Moore. I know DJ Moore has been cratering a little. People are panicking about DJ Moore. I've seen more comments about DJ Moore than I think any other player over the last couple of weeks. Like, people are really panicking about DJ Moore, and I get it. He's been on the decline. He hasn't scored more than 14 points in 4 consecutive weeks. He started the season so hot, 15-plus points in each of his first 4 games. He hasn't gone over 15 points in the next 4 games. But the volume's still been there. He's still the number 1 receiver for the Carolina Panthers. In the Patriots secondary, they've been okay. They're really nothing tremendously scary. And the target share has still been okay for DJ Moore. Like, he's still over a 28%, 27% target share each of his last 3 games. I think you got to go with DJ Moore. I think DJ Moore is still a solid wide receiver too. Yeah, Dak is playing. It looks like Kyler Murray not playing. I'm seeing a Justin Jefferson or A.J. Brown question. You got to play both those guys. I will talk about Christian McCaffrey in just a second. I'm also seeing a lot of DeAndre Hopkins questions in the TikTok chat. Guys, DeAndre Hopkins is not playing. Or we're under the assumption he's not playing. It's not officially confirmed yet, but it's not looking good. So get Hopkins out. And it looks like Kyler Murray also not playing. So get him out of your lineups too. Okay, I'm getting a question here. Thoughts on Christian McCaffrey? Yeah, I think Christian McCaffrey, this week, Christian McCaffrey is a guy that you probably want to start. In some situations, you don't need to start him. Like, for example, I would probably play Cordell Patterson over Christian McCaffrey this week. But Christian McCaffrey, you got to understand Christian McCaffrey. Why was he the first overall pick? He was the first overall pick because of volume, which he's not going to get the same type of volume this week because he's on some sort of a snap count. But the volume that he does get is going to be really valuable. He could easily still score a touchdown. He could easily still get 5+ catches. Like, he's still a startable guy. He's, to me, a running back too this week. He's scored over 20 points in over 90% of his games over the last 2.5 years. Like, he is startable. But if you have a really good option, you can start that really good option over him. But after this week, I mean, McCaffrey's locked into your starting lineup. He's going to win leagues. Start Kittle? No, do not start Kittle. Do not start Kittle. The Cardinals have had the best defense against tight ends this season, and Kittle's on the snap count today. Don't start George Kittle. By the way, we're live on TikTok and YouTube right now. Link is in the TikTok bio. And when you come to the YouTube live, it's a little easier for me to pull up your comments, and you get my top 10 rankings, quarterbacks, wide receivers, running backs, tight ends, and picks against the spread. All right. This app is awesome and is helping me win my fantasy league. Thanks for that, man. I appreciate it. We've worked a ton on the WalterPicks app to help you dominate your fantasy leagues. Daniel Jones, Jordan Love, or Tyrod Taylor. Yeah, Jordan Love is the guy that I keep forgetting about. Just gave a 5-star review. There's 3 good streaming quarterbacks today. Tua. We have 2. I'm not going to try to say his last name. Tua, Tyrod Taylor, and Jordan Love. All 3 of these guys could be top 10 quarterbacks this week. I think if I were to rank these guys in terms of like who I would start over one another, I think Tua is number 1. I think Tyrod is number 2. I think Jordan Love is number 3. Though again, I think all 3 guys have serious ceiling today. That's how I would rank them, though. I would go Tua number 1, Tyrod number 2, and Jordan Love number 3. To me, Jordan Love's the biggest wild card of them all. We've just never seen Jordan Love play. Like, we just have never seen Jordan Love play. So there's risk there. But the Chiefs' defense is bad. The Chiefs' defense is really bad. And the Chiefs' offense, I think, is going to be just fine. Hurts or Justin Herbert? Yeah, Jalen Hurts has been, like, he's really a tough one. I still think if I pull up my top 10 QBs really quickly, I have Jalen Hurts ranked number 9 and Justin Herbert ranked number 8. So I still think you go Justin Herbert, but it's close. CMC or Mitchell? Yeah, with Jeff Wilson returning, Mitchell dealing with an injury himself, like I think you got to go CMC. I think you got to go Christian McCaffrey. Ayuk or Jacoby Myers? Yeah, I'd go Jacoby Myers. Play Debo and Beasley. Yeah, Debo Samuel's dealing with an injury. I still think you got to start. He's the number 3 wide receiver in fantasy this season. So I don't feel good about benching him, even dealing with an injury. You think the 49ers D is a good go? Yeah, they are. Colt McCoy. They're playing against Colt McCoy. So, yeah, I mean, they're good. And Colt McCoy also was without DeAndre Hopkins and A.J. Green. Cardinals offense is obviously good. Like, the scheme is good. The 49ers defense hasn't been anything crazy this season. But, I mean, guys, Colt McCoy is 35 years old. The last time Colt McCoy played was 2020. Like, he has not, over the last times he's played, I don't know if these are full games or not. He hasn't even scored like 10 fantasy points in a game since the last 5 years. Like, Colt McCoy's not good. I would be pretty surprised if Colt McCoy did anything crazy today. Hey Sam, hope you're doing well. Mario, thanks, man. I'm doing really well. Thank you for asking. I hope you're all doing well. Also, thank you for tuning in and spending some time with me. I say this every live stream. I try to say it at least once because I think it's important. Time is the most valuable thing you have. It is. So I appreciate you spending some time with me this morning. I got 2 questions. Sell Nyheim Hines. Sorry, I reached my time limit on TikTok. Just had to push that notification down. And Baker, sell or not? Nyheim Hines and Baker or Tyrod to start? Yeah, Nyheim Hines I don't think is a bad sell. We knew Nyheim Hines, by the way. We said Nyheim Hines was the sleepiest, deepiest play on Thursday Night Football because the Jets had allowed them by far. The Jets have allowed by far the most receiving yards per game to running backs. That's why Jonathan Taylor over, I think it was 19 and a half receiving yards Thursday night was an absolute lock. But yeah, it's a good time to sell Nyheim Hines. Like, he just had a big game, and he's not going to be consistent this season because Jonathan Taylor's just absolutely dominating teams. Jonathan Taylor could be the number 1 overall pick next season. Hey, Sam. Testing you round 2. So let's go. Sleepiest, deepest, darkest play. I think this is hilarious. Sleepiest, deepest, darkest play in FanDuel of a cheap guy who get points for the Browns game. All right, we're talking about the Browns versus the Bengals. Yeah, I think the sleepiest, deepest, darkest play for the Browns is definitely Donovan Peoples-Jones. And guys, if you are watching live on TikTok right now, we are also live on YouTube. Link is in the TikTok bio. You get a little bit more information on the YouTube live. My top 10 wide receivers, top 10 quarterbacks, top 10 running backs, tight ends. You also get my favorite picks against the spread and my Draftkings lineup, all just scrolling at the bottom of the screen on the YouTube live. It's also a little easier for me to pull up comments on the YouTube live. So I will answer comments from both. I do appreciate you tuning in from wherever you're tuning in from. Do you watch college football? Not very much. Cooper, not very much. Because I already spent all Sunday watching NFL. It's just too much. It's just too much. But I do prepare a lot for the NFL draft. So I go back and kind of look at the stats and watch some of the tape there. Dom DiNucci, 5-star review for the WalterPicks app. Thank you so much. Yeah, again, if you haven't tried out the WalterPicks app yet in the iOS App Store, we are crushing it this season. Again, more accurate than ESPN and Yahoo for your start-sit decisions, for your trade analyzer. We give away 10 free transactions every week, who you should add, who you should drop, who you should trade for. A lot of it's completely free. If you do any of the premium subscriptions in the app too, you get a completely free 7-day trial. So really, there's really no risk to just go try it out. You're probably going to get an edge in your fantasy league. Justin Herbert or Matt Stafford, Amari Cooper, Mike Will, or Jarvis, or DJ Moore. Yeah, I think I would go Matt Stafford over Justin Herbert. I have him ranked ahead of Justin Herbert this week. Stafford has been the number 1 most efficient quarterback in the NFL. He also gets the Titans this week, who have just been abysmal in the secondary. Then for the receivers, Amari Cooper, Mike Williams, Jarvis Landry, DJ Moore. I think I would go Amari Cooper, DJ Moore. I would rank those guys: Amari Cooper, DJ Moore, Mike Williams, then Jarvis Landry. Jarvis Landry probably has a higher floor than Mike Williams, but the ceiling for Mike Williams is definitely higher. Mike Williams or Keenan Allen or Deebo Samuel. Yeah, we've actually been really good on these streams about when to play Mike Williams and when to play Keenan Allen. Last week was a Keenan Allen week. Against the Patriots, it's just a better matchup for Keenan Allen. This week, I think it's a Mike Williams week. I think this is a better matchup for Mike Williams. I'd still like Deebo Samuel this week, even though he's dealing with an injury. 5-star reviewer here. My guy Sam, coming up a year as a subscriber. Wow, man, I appreciate that. Half PPR, Rondale Moore, Bateman, or Allen Robinson. Oh, God, we got to talk about Allen Robinson because I think this could be an Ayuk week. This could also be an Allen Robinson week. Like, the Bears up against the Steelers on Monday Night Football, going to be a fantastic game. And I think that the Steelers, pull this up, the Pittsburgh Steelers have been not that great against wide receivers this season. Their secondary has been about average, a little bit below average. But it's just you just can't really trust Allen Robinson. The volume in the passing attack is just so low that it's so hard to trust him. I like Rondale Moore more than Rashad Bateman this week too. I think Bateman is probably a little bit safer, but again, a lot of things are aligning for Rondale Moore to have a good game this week. First of all, A.J. Green and DeAndre Hopkins are out, and that's usually a better thing for Christian Kirk, who plays on the outside. Rondale Moore plays on the inside. Those are 2 outside receivers, A.J. Green, DeAndre Hopkins. but Kyler Murray's also out. And so I think they're going to have to scheme a lot of touches to really their most talented player around the line of scrimmage today, and that's Rondale Moore. So I think I'd go Rondale Moore. Goddard or Schultz? Yeah, it's to me, it's Goddard this week. Goddard has a really, really good matchup. He's really going to be like the only Eagles receiver in the passing attack that has a plus matchup. He's seen very consistent volume too in the passing attack. I have Dalton Schultz ranked number 7 this week at tight end, and Dallas Goedert ranked number 6. Again, if you come to the YouTube live, link is in the TikTok bio. You can see my top 10 rankings at tight end. Like these top 10 rankings also, they can answer a lot of the questions I'm seeing in the chat. Like Kittle versus Schultz, for example. Kittle's not even in my top 10 because you have to bench George Kittle this week. And if you just came to the YouTube live, you could see that scrolling at the bottom of the screen, and you'd be able to answer that question immediately. Kittle or Marvin Jones? Again, yeah, bench Kittle. Bench Kittle. Brian Edwards or Darnell Mooney? Yeah, I think I'd go Brian Edwards over Darnell Mooney. Darrell Williams. Is Kyler playing? No. Kyler is likely not playing. Has not been officially confirmed, but is likely not playing. This one's a good one in the YouTube live. Lamb or Jalen Waddle from Michael Howard. I think that I personally think Jalen Waddle's safer, but you almost have to still go to CeeDee Lamb. Like, you don't want to bench CeeDee Lamb. I know he's dealing with an injury, but I think I would go CeeDee Lamb. I think I would go CeeDee Lamb over Jalen Waddle. Jalen Waddle, though, he is a really safe play. There's no Devontae Parker this week. The Texans are not good. Like, he has the better matchup. But I do like CeeDee Lamb still. And I do think the Cowboys are 10-point favorites against the Broncos. I think the Cowboys could beat them by much more than that. So I think if you're going for the floor, you go Jalen Waddle, but you gotta chase the ceiling with CeeDee Lamb, in my opinion. If James Robinson plays, do I start? Yeah, you do, but it looks like he's not going to play. Good morning, Sam. McCaffrey or Henderson in 49ers or Raiders defense? Yeah, it's definitely Henderson over McCaffrey. The Rams are big favorites this week, and McCaffrey's just going to be on a snap count. So you got to go with Henderson, who's seeing super consistent volume. And then I would go the 49ers over the Raiders defense too. Their 49ers are playing against Colt McCoy. Like, Kyler Murray's likely out. And DeAndre Hopkins also, guys, likely out. So no, I should see no DeAndre Hopkins questions. I should see no Kyler Murray questions. Like, we're assuming they're both out. Do I trade James Robinson for DJ Moore? No, I don't think I'd do that. James Robinson has a really, really good fantasy football playoff schedule. Thoughts on Carlos Hyde? Yeah, Sean. My general thoughts on Carlos Hyde is that he's not good and that I don't want him anywhere near my fantasy football starting lineups. Nothing against Carlos Hyde. He's just way past his prime. And the Jaguars are just so bad. Like, I don't want Carlos Hyde. There's so little upside for Carlos Hyde. The volume's probably going to be there, but Tua is out. All right, is this true? Is this true? Because this is going to be really disappointing news. Let me refresh. Can anyone else confirm that Tua, Lamar, or Hurts? Let's see here. Dolphins QB, Tua has a small fracture in the middle of his finger throwing hand and has not recovered him to allow him to start today's game. Per league source, Jacoby Brissett now starting. Every stream, something like this happens. Tua is out. Tua is out today. Thank you in the YouTube live, by the way, for shouting this out. The YouTube live literally breaks news. Literally breaks news for us. Tua is out today. He's out. So get Tua out of your lineups. He's no longer a streaming option. Jalen Waddle, I still think is playable. Like, I don't think this affects Jalen Waddle that much because Devonte Parker is also out. I think my lock for the Houston Texans, I mean, I was taking the Houston Texans over the Dolphins anyway. I definitely now you got to take the Houston Texans over the Dolphins. Like, this should be really a pick-em. Let me update the WalterPicks app with this news too, because Tua is now out. I thought Tua was a pretty good streamer because the Texans defense is not good. Now Tua is out. Jacoby Brissett in. Honestly, if anything, I think this is a slight bump, maybe for Myles Gaskin. But other than that, we had Tua projected for 19.4 points. I'll tell you in just a second how much Jacoby Brissett is projected for. Likely going to be below 19.4. I'd guess something in the 18 range. But I'll pull this up right now. Got to rerun the 10,000 simulations in the WalterPicks app as well. Updating this live on the stream. Tua is out. It did not affect Jalen Waddle's projection really at all, which is interesting. And Jacoby Brissett now projected for 17.9 points. Not bad, honestly. He's probably really, really cheap in DFS too. I don't think I'd play him. But he is projected 17.9 points. He's got a 30% chance to go under 10. And he's got a 17% chance to go over 30 points. I'm not a guy that I think I would start. So get Jacoby Brissett. I don't think we should be streaming Jacoby Brissett. I like Tyrod Taylor still. I still think Jordan Love is a pretty good streaming option. But again, Tua is out. Yeah, I think Jordan Love is a good replacement. I think Jordan Love and I think Sammy Sosa. I think that Tyrod Taylor, those are the two best replacements again, the breaking news just now is Tua is out. I don't think it changes our projection for Jalen Waddle. It didn't change Walter's projection for Jalen Waddle. Hey, Sam, loving the app as of late. I just purchased the whole thing. Wow, Luca, thank you so much. Again, premium subscriptions in the WalterPicks app, number one way you could possibly help us. And it's going to help you dominate everything fantasy related, your fantasy leagues with trades and start to sit decisions where you're leveraging the power of AI against your league. So, Luca, hopefully it helps you out. Quick question. Carr, Tyrod Taylor, or Tannehill, also Agnew, Jeff Wilson, or Sharp at flex. Oh, God, I just, it's so tough for me to put a guy like Jamal Agnew into my fantasy lineups, but the target volume really has been there for him. Keep up the good work. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I think I would probably go. Tannehill's a really interesting spot this week. Julio Jones and AJ Brown both going to be healthy for this game, and no Derrick Henry. Like, he could be throwing much more. I think Tannehill probably is the highest ceiling out of all those guys. I think Tyrod Taylor probably is the safest floor though. So I'd probably go Tyrod Taylor or Ryan Tannehill, and then at the flex spot, honestly, I think I'd probably go with Taj Sharp. I don't think I can trust Jeff Wilson yet. I do like Jamal Agnew. Guys, if you're watching live on YouTube, by the way, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. When we get to 200 likes, we're almost there. If everyone hits the like button in the next 5 seconds, we're there. We got a free prop pick for you all. So hit the like button on the YouTube live. Also hit the subscribe button. We're so close to 5,000 YouTube subscribers. Really would love to get there today. Mike Williams or Joe Mixon? I'd go Joe Mixon. CeeDee Lamb or Hollywood Brown? Yeah, it's got to be CeeDee Lamb. It's got to be CeeDee Lamb, man. I know CeeDee Lamb's dealing with an injury, but it's CeeDee Lamb. CMC or McNichols? Yeah, man. When you drafted Christian McCaffrey, you did not expect that week 9 of the NFL season, you would be asking CMC or Jeremy McNichols. But yeah, you still got to go Christian McCaffrey. Goddard or Pitts? Pitts is another guy that's in such an interesting situation. I still have him ranked as my number 3 tight end this week, ahead of Dallas Goedert, who's my number 6 tight end. But he's the number 1 receiver for the Falcons now. Calvin Ridley's out for the foreseeable future. Hopefully Calvin Ridley gets well, by the way. Sending all my love to Calvin Ridley. But I do think that Kyle Pitts, like, he's just locked into volume. He also doesn't have a very good matchup this week. The Saints have been pretty good against tight ends, and like, defenses are going to be keyed in on Kyle Pitts. But the volume is what you got to chase, and that's why you still have to really, like, you got to start Kyle Pitts. Dallas Goedert does have a far superior matchup to him though this week. Is CMC playing? It hasn't officially been confirmed, but it's like 90%. Yeah, he's playing. He's going to play. Kittle or Ertz? Guys, do not start George Kittle this week. Just don't start him this week. You just wait one more week. I know it's been a long time without George Kittle. He's very good, but he has a horrible matchup, and he's going to be on a snap count. With Tua out, do I play Jordan Love, Daniel Jones, or Tyrod Taylor? Yeah, I would probably rank these guys. Daniel Jones is an interesting one this week against the Raiders. The Raiders have been pretty good defensively. They've been pretty good defensively. They ranked 19th. They've allowed the 19th most points, or you could say the 11th fewest points. So the 12th best defense against quarterbacks this season. But Daniel Jones is he's the best quarterback on this list. I do think Jordan Love is a really interesting wild card play this week. The Chiefs defense is really just so bad. So bad. Bottom 5 defense. They've allowed the 2nd most fantasy points per game to quarterbacks. Like, you can start Jordan Love this week. I would probably rank these guys: Jordan Love number 1, Tyrod Taylor number 2, Daniel Jones number 3. To me, Tyrod Taylor probably is the safest floor though. Like, Tyrod Taylor against the Dolphins. Dolphins also allowing, I think, the fourth most points per game to quarterbacks. Yeah, 4th most points per game to quarterbacks. They've allowed the 2nd most passing yards per game to quarterbacks. By the way, the team that's allowed the most passing yards per game to quarterbacks is none other than the Baltimore Ravens. I think Kirk Cousins is an interesting play this week too. To me, the Ravens are a pretty overrated defense right now. Deontay Johnson or Tyreek Hill? Yeah, both. You got to start both, but obviously you're starting Tyreek Hill. Will Cooks go over 14? Yeah, probably. Yeah, Tua is out this week. Tua is out. Waddle or Thielen? I think I'd probably go Thielen over Waddle. What's up, Sam? Wide receiver 2, Kirk, Judy, Ayuk. I don't like Christian Kirk catching passes from Colt McCoy. So I think I would go Ayuk. I think Judy has a safer floor. Honestly, Kirk probably has a safer floor than Ayuk too. But Ayuk, guys, again, it's 90% of the snaps last week, and he also had his highest snap share, highest target total since his rookie season last week. And then you add in the fact that that Deebo Samuel is dealing with an injury, and all of a sudden, Ayuk is in the wide receiver 2 conversation. So yeah, I'd like Brandon Ayuk. We know that Ayuk is not a lock. Ayuk has a super scary floor. But the ceiling is still there for Brandon Ayuk. That's why I think you got to be starting Brandon Ayuk. Should I put Mike Williams in instead of CD or Deontay Johnson? No, you definitely shouldn't. Definitely not. But yeah, no, I think Brandon Ayuk is a pretty good play. Guys, we're live on TikTok and YouTube right now. Link is in the TikTok bio. On the YouTube live, you can see a little bit more information than the TikTok live. You can see my top 10 rankings, quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends. Let me pull my running back rankings, by the way. We had Jonathan Taylor ranked number 1 this week. That was just a layup. You got to take your layups in fantasy. Like, you just got to take the layups. And Jonathan Taylor was a layup. That's why Walter identified his receiving and rushing prop with ease on Thursday night. Ayuk or Chase Edmonds at flex. Yeah, I'd go Edmonds. I'd go Edmonds over Ayuk. You think the Seahawks can make the playoffs? Yeah, definitely. I mean, the second that Russell Wilson comes back, the Seahawks could win any game. Henry is out. Henry is hurt, and Leonard Fournette on a bye. Who should I look for as a sneaky running back? Yeah, look for – I mean, there's really not very many options available on the waiver wire these days. But Jeremy McNichols, Adrian Peterson, like both those guys are going to have increased roles this week with Henry out. And I think they're some of the best sleeper running backs this week. What are we doing with CMC and Monty this week? Yeah, I'm going to add George Kittle to that question too. I think George Kittle, you kind of have to bench. Tough matchup. Cardinals allowing the least points to tight ends this season. No tight ends scored more than 8 points against them. And he's on a snap count. Christian McCaffrey also in a snap count. Patriots defense has been pretty good. Nothing super scary. I think that you got to start Christian McCaffrey even on a snap count. As for David Montgomery, I think you kind of have to bench David Montgomery. Like, David Montgomery could have 10 or fewer touches this week. Guys, if you're watching live on YouTube, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Also, if you haven't tried out the WalterPicks app yet, you got to try out the WalterPicks app in the iOS App Store. Guys, we're in the home stretch of the fantasy season, and you got to be getting every edge you can get. And the WalterPicks app's totally free to download. And the premium subscriptions in the app also come with completely free 7-day trials. And it's just going to hand you the power of artificial intelligence in your fantasy league. Brendan, how's it going, man? What is up? We are live on TikTok and YouTube right now. We're a couple hours away from football, man. And we got a lot of questions to get to. A lot of questions. Let me know which rankings you want to see if you're in the YouTube live, by the way. I got the running backs up right now. Let me pull up the quarterbacks. A lot of quarterback questions. If you were planning on starting Tua or you were planning on starting Kyler Murray, I think the best replacement's Jordan Love against the Chiefs. Chiefs allowing the second most fantasy points per game to quarterbacks. And honestly, I'm not even a big believer in Jordan Love. Like, I've been kind of a disbeliever in Jordan Love from the start. Thought it was a bad pick by the Packers, but you also got to give the Packers a little bit of credit. They've been very, very good at identifying good quarterbacks in the NFL for really over the last 30 years. Sam, good freaking morning. Non-PPR question here. Moss, Cooks, or Scott at my flex? Yeah, you got to go Moss. I like Cooks more than Moss in a PPR league, but in a non-PPR league, I mean, Zack Moss and Devin Singletary, they're 14.5-point favorites against the Jaguars, and personally, I think that the Bills beat the Jaguars by a lot more than that. A lot more than that. Tony or Ayuk? Yeah, I'd probably go, Michael, Kadarius Toney over Ayuk. Again, I like Ayuk this week. Let me pull up my wide receiver rankings really quickly. I see a question for that in the chat. Cooper Kupp, obviously number 1. And by the way, I was pretty surprised. We plugged in Jordan Love over Aaron Rodgers in the WalterPicks app, and Devonte Adams did not even move an inch in the rankings. He's still our number 2 receiver in fantasy this week. Like, you got to be locked in to Devonte Adams. And by the way, CeeDee Lamb's still in the top 10 as well. Like, you got to be playing CeeDee Lamb. Is Aaron Jones a running back 1 this week? Yes. Stafford or Mahomes? It's got to be Mahomes. Do not bench Mahomes. Thoughts on Drake versus Giants? Yeah, I mean, Kenyon Drake has carved out actually a pretty valuable role. I don't think he's by any means safe. But in a PPR league, he's probably going to get some work. He's probably going to get 50% of the touches. That's why I don't love Josh Jacobs either. Because Josh Jacobs just from the start, there's just not very good receiving outlook for Josh Jacobs every single week. Kenyon Drake really has. He scored over 15 points back-to-back weeks now. He's gone over 70 yards back-to-back weeks. He has 3 touchdowns over his last 2 games. He's probably not going to score that frequently this season, but he's seen a lot of work through the air. Actually, less work than you would have thought over the last couple of games. But yeah, I do like Kenyon Drake. I think he's a sneaky play. Sammy Sosa, Pats D or Steelers D? Darnold injury seems kind of serious. Yeah, it does. Even if you ignore the Sam Darnold injury completely, you have to like the Patriots defense this week. Sam Darnold's not that scary right now. And the Patriots defense is starting to come into form a little bit. Yeah, so I think the Patriots defense, to me, they're the number 1 defense this week. Hey, Sam, DraftKings lineup. Yeah, Ryan, let me pull it up. Let me pull up the DraftKings lineup. This is my head-to-head lineup in a high-stakes league, very high-stakes league. I got a lot of money on the line in this league. I'm going with Lamar Jackson at quarterback, Nick Chubb, Dalvin Cook at running back. I'm playing both Bryan Edwards and Hunter Renfrow because I think they're both going to see increased opportunity in the absence of Henry Ruggs. Amari Cooper or Adam Thielen? This one's really close. I like Amari Cooper more than Adam Thielen if they were both healthy. Amari Cooper dealing with an injury, I think that is enough to strongly consider Adam Thielen over Amari Cooper. I personally would still go Amari Cooper, but again, we talked about this early in the stream. I think the Ravens might be the most overrated defense in the NFL right now. They're allowing the most passing yards per game to quarterbacks this season, but they've allowed the 16th most points to the quarterback position. So they really they're a bend but don't break defense this season. I don't think that's a very sustainable way to play defense. And yards predict touchdowns really well. So I don't hate Kirk Cousins, Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson at all today. I think that game could be a huge shootout. CMC or Chubb. Yeah, Cole, you got to start Nick Chubb. Waddle or Darrell Williams. Yeah, I'd go Waddle. Thoughts on Kittle? Yeah, a lot of Kittle questions. Guys, you got to bench George Kittle. Bench George Kittle. He's playing a very, very, very good defense today. They've allowed the least points per game to tight ends. That's the Arizona Cardinals. And he's on a snap count. Guys, if you're watching live on YouTube, hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. We're so close to 200 likes. I got a free prop pick for us today when we get to 200 likes. And we're so close to 5,000 YouTube subscribers. So guys, hit the like button and the subscribe button. Seriously, takes you 2 seconds. I appreciate it so much. Also, if you haven't tried out the WalterPicks app yet in the iOS App Store, it's the number one way you could possibly support me other than subscribing to the YouTube channel and following the TikTok account is just downloading the WalterPicks app, tossing it a 5-star review, and testing out the 7-day free trial for one of the premium subscriptions in the app. All right, let's take a quick look at this one. Hey, Sam, what's your team and rankings looking like in the 32-person fantasy league? So I'm actually not in the 32-person fantasy league. We have 32 WalterPicks creators on TikTok, by the way. If you're not following them yet, just go to the list of people I'm following on TikTok, and they're putting out killer content every single week that really is helping everyone win their fantasy leagues and just get better insight into every team in the NFL. But those are the 32 people in the league. I'm the commissioner of the league. I'm the commissioner of the league. I'm not in the league, so I'm not in the standings. But I will be making a video this week about the standings in the league and my general thoughts on who's going to win. Who are you high on? Why are you high on Diggs this week? Yeah, so let me pull up my receiver rankings again because that question probably came from that. But guys, Stefon Diggs, to me, Stefon Diggs has been really like most of the season. Stefon Diggs has been my favorite buy low candidate at the wide receiver position. I must have made at least 3 videos at this point telling you to buy Stefon Diggs. We've kept Stefon Diggs in the 10 transactions tool in the WalterPicks app every single week. And he's actually had a good season. Like Stefon Diggs is having a good season. He's a top 20 wide receiver this season, but he's still disappointed in terms of his expectation. Like people were drafting him as a top 5 receiver. But I still think he could be a top 5 receiver the rest of the season. And here's why. He's the 11th most air yards in the NFL, and he also is number 12 in targets. So he's a wide receiver 1 in terms of volume. And that is what you got to chase in fantasy football is the volume. You got to chase the volume and the talent. And when the volume and the talent combine, like it is for Stefon Diggs, in an offense like the Buffalo Bills, who are some of the most pass-heavy offense, one of the most pass-heavy aggressive offenses in the NFL, the stars align for Stefon Diggs to be a top 5 wide receiver rest of the season in fantasy football. That's why I like Stefon Diggs. And that's why he's a top 5 receiver for me almost every single week. Gore or Dearness Johnson? Yeah, I wouldn't not be trusting Derek Gore. I would go Dearness Johnson. Thoughts on Deebo Samuel? Guys, Deebo Samuel is the number 3 receiver in fantasy this season. Like you kind of have to start him. He's dealing with an injury, but you got to start him. Starting Diggs. Do I start Rondale Moore, Ayuk, or Beasley? Yeah, all 3 of these guys are really interesting. Jordan Love or Brissett? Yeah, definitely go Jordan Love over Jacoby Brissett. I mean, the Dolphins could run a lot in this game. I don't love Jacoby Brissett. The whole Dolphins offense, I think, gets a slight tick down in a game with Jacoby Brissett instead of Tua. But back to the first question. All 3 of these receivers I like. Rondale Moore, Brandon Ayuk, and Beasley. I like Ayuk this week. I think Ayuk is a startable receiver this week, but I think I'd go Rondale Moore over him. I think Beasley is in an interesting spot against – the Jaguars are just so bad. Like, I think Beasley's probably the safest. To me, Ayuk has the highest ceiling, but Rondale Moore is like the best combination of the ceiling and floor. Again, Hopkins out this week, Christian Kirk out this week, Kyler Murray out this week. Personally, I think I would go Beasley or Rondale Moore because you have if you don't need to start Ayuk, you probably shouldn't start Ayuk. That's what I would do. I would probably go Cole Beasley or Rondale Moore here. If it's a PPR league, especially, I think Beasley gets a little bit bump up. Pick 2, Mitchell. Elijah Mitchell is really tough to trust with Jeff Wilson back. Brandon Ayuk, Chase Edmonds. Myers, Gore, Gainwell, Devonte Smith. Yeah, Devonte Smith's also just so tough to trust against the Chargers. I really, I'm a huge Devonte Smith fan. I think he's much better than what he's done this season. The volume's been there for Devonte Smith too, but you just can't trust him. The Chargers have been the third best defense against receivers this entire season. I think I would probably go with Jacoby Myers and Chase Edmonds. I think those are the two safest guys of these options. Edmonds or Mixon. Yeah, guys, don't bench Joe Mixon. Don't bench Joe Mixon. Guys, if you're watching live on YouTube, guys, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We are 2 likes away from 200 likes on the YouTube live. We're so close. Just 2 people. Hit the like button. We got a free prop pick to share. Also, if you're on the TikTok live, we're live on YouTube also. It's a little easier for me to pull up comments on the YouTube live. Also, you get my top 10 rankings at quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, and my favorite picks against the spread on the YouTube live. So a little bit more information. The link to the YouTube live is right in the TikTok bio. So you are like 2 presses of your finger away from the YouTube live, and you just get a slightly better live experience. Jordan Love or Jacoby Brissett? Yeah, it's got to be Jordan Love. If we're talking about the streamable quarterbacks this week, it's Jordan Love, it's Jacoby Brissett. I don't love Jacoby Brissett. It's Tyrod Taylor. I think Jordan Love and Tyrod Taylor are my favorite streaming quarterbacks. I like Kirk Cousins more than Jordan Love, though. There's not a single defense that's allowed more passing yards per game than the Baltimore Ravens. I think that Vikings-Ravens game could be a massive shootout today. DJ or Rondale Moore? Yeah, come on. I feel like people are really panicking about DJ Moore. You got to play DJ Moore. Yo, the comments just yo, what's up, Mark Zeller? How's it going? Sutton or Javonte in flex? I think I would lean towards Sutton over Javonte. Yo, Adrian Peterson or Mike Davis? Oh, God. I mean, really similar options. Honestly, I would probably go Adrian Peterson over Mike Davis. James Conner, Zach Moss, or Boston Scott? Pick 2. Yeah, it's got to be the last 2. I think it's got to be the last 2. Like, James Conner could see slightly increased work with Kyler Murray out, but I think I would go Boston Scott and Zach Moss. Boston Scott's an interesting sleeper this week against the Chargers. The Chargers have been really good against receivers, but horrible in the run. They've had really a bottom 2 run defense adjusted for strength of opponent. No defense has allowed more rushing yards per game adjusted for strength of opponent than the Chargers. So Boston Scott is an interesting play. I think I like him a little bit more than James Conner, but Zach Moss is the best option here. Guys, Zach Moss is a good option. They're 14.5-point favorites against the Jaguars. 14.5-point favorites against the Jaguars. Ertz or Kittle? Yeah, we said this a lot of time. Higbee or Kittle? We said this plenty of times today. You need to bench George Kittle. Just wait one more week. Wait one more week, and you got a top 5 tight end, and you good patience for George Kittle. This is just not the week for George Kittle. He's coming back at a really bad time. First of all, he's going to be on snap count, but second of all, George Kittle is up against a Cardinals defense that has been number 1 against tight ends this season. They haven't allowed a single tight end to go over 8 points. McCaffrey or Devonte Freeman? It's got to be McCaffrey, man. You got to be playing McCaffrey over Devonte Freeman. Just say that question out loud and tell me you feel good about playing Devonte Freeman over McCaffrey. I know McCaffrey's going to be on a snap count today, but you still got to play McCaffrey. Should I drop Chuba Hubbard for Peterson? Yeah, that one's interesting. I think you can. Yeah, I think you can. McCaffrey's back. Adrian Peterson has a better path to fantasy points than Chuba Hubbard at this point. But if you have Christian McCaffrey, you should probably hold on to Chuba Hubbard. Tony or Judy? Yeah, I think Tony's still a better option than Judy until further notice. Kittle or Ertz? Bench George Kittle. Guys, bench George Kittle. Just bench George Kittle. James Conner or Jones Jr.? God, Marvin Jones should have a good ceiling. He should have a good ceiling. He's leading that team in air yards, but Jamal Agnew is out-targeting Marvin Jones since the DJ Chark injury. So you're really going to feel good about Marvin Jones right now? Laviska Shenault, Marvin Jones, they both should be doing so much better than they are. I think a lot of the blame has to go to Urban Meyer and just the Jaguars being a complete dumpster fire. I even think Trevor Lawrence isn't bad. It's just brutal target share volume for Marvin Jones and for Laviska Shenault. I don't know how you could trust either of those guys. Start Damian Harris this week? Yeah, I do think you can start Damian Harris this week because I think there's a chance the Patriots destroy the Panthers, which is going to be good news for Damian Harris. And if you haven't been paying attention, I go back and I watch every single game at least once. The Patriots, really from the start of the season, as I expected heading into the season as someone who follows the Patriots really closely, they are a run-first team. They want to be a run-first team. They built this team around the run. That's why they went out and signed the 2 most expensive tight ends, a lot of 2 tight end sets. Jack Breton, thanks, man, for the target there. We're on target with the Patriots this season. They are a run-first team. The offensive line is improving every single week. So, yeah, Damian Harris is definitely startable, especially in non-PPR leagues. Kittle or Pitts? Bench George Kittle. This has got to be like the headline of the stream. Bench George Kittle. Hey, Sam, 5-star review. Pick one for flex. Elijah Mitchell or Smith. Full PPR bonus. You get some sort of bonus too. P.S. I have Devonte Williams and Bateman on my bench. Yeah, I don't trust Elijah Mitchell. I think you got to go Devonte Smith even in a tough matchup here. I think you got to go Devonte Smith. Is Kyler Murray out? Yeah, Kyler Murray is like almost definitely out. Not 100% confirmed out, but Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins are trending towards both being out. Another kind of breaking news this morning is that Tua is out. So we're going to see more Jacoby Brissett today. Tua really has not been able to catch a break in terms of injuries. AP, Pitts, or Ayuk at the flex. I hate starting tight ends in my flex, and I still would go Pitts here. Like, I don't hate Ayuk. I don't hate Adrian Peterson. Kyle Pitts, though, is basically the number one wide receiver for the Falcons. Smith or Renfro? Yeah, I like Hunter Renfro more than Devonte Smith. I'm back. Sorry. I just failed. And what? You don't understand. What's your top 3 wide receivers? Let me pull up my top 10 wide receivers. How about that? Top 10 wide receivers. I don't even need to just show you my top 3. If you're on the TikTok live, by the way, we're also live on YouTube. The link to the YouTube is in the TikTok bio. And on the YouTube live, you can see just scrolling at the bottom of the screen right now, my top 10 wide receivers, quarterbacks, wide receivers, running backs, and my favorite picks against the spread. All of which can answer a lot of the questions I'm seeing in the chat. I'm seeing Tannehill versus Mahomes in the chat. I'm also seeing Mahomes versus Joe Burrow in the TikTok chat. Guys, you have to start Mahomes. Don't panic about the Chiefs offense. Do not panic about the Chiefs offense. Darnell Mooney or DJ Moore or Jalen Waddle. I love your app. Just rated it 5 stars, liked and subscribed. Chase, thank you so much. Seriously. Thank you. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for tossing the WalterPicks app a 5-star review and trying it out and trying out the free trial on some of the premium subscriptions in the WalterPicks app. Thank you so much. Seriously. It helps out so much. And I appreciate it. Darnell Mooney versus DJ Moore is not close for me. It's got to be DJ Moore. Darnell Mooney really shouldn't be part of this question. It's DJ Moore versus Jalen Waddle. And I think Jalen Waddle is still a good play this week against the Texans, even with Jacoby Brissett starting. I still like DJ Moore more. I like DJ Moore more than Jalen Waddle. Edmonds or Booker? I think you got to go Booker over Edmonds. Booker saw 21 touches last week. That's what you want to chase in fantasy. You chase the volume. So, yeah, you got to go Devonte Booker. Hey, Sam, I just got offered Ayuk for Zach Moss. Should I accept? Only if you're almost never going to start Zach Moss. Because if you're going to start Zach Moss, you kind of have to be starting. You kind of can't do this trade. Zach Moss is it's way safer than Ayuk right now. But I do think this could be the Ayuk week. Bro, I think this could be the Ayuk week. Ayuk versus Bateman. Yeah, I like Ayuk more than Bateman this week too. Love or Brissett. Yeah, it's got to be Jordan Love over Jacoby Brissett. Who are the must starts this week? There's a lot of them. There's a lot of must starts. I think let's go game by game. I think that some must starts in the Texans-Dolphins game. Brandon Cooks. You have to be starting Brandon Cooks. I think Tyrod Taylor's a sneaky QB play. I wouldn't say he's a must start. For the Dolphins, I think Jalen Waddle is in must start territory. I don't think I'd start him over DJ Moore. That's kind of a cutoff for me. I have DJ Moore ranked as a top 10 wide receiver this week still. For the Cowboys, I think you still should be starting CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper and Ezekiel Elliott and Dak Prescott. For the Broncos, the only must start for me for the Denver Broncos is Courtland Sutton. Other than that, there's really no must starts for the Denver Broncos. I like Javonte Williams, but the Broncos are also 10-point underdogs against the Cowboys. This could be a really pass-heavy day for the Broncos. Jerry Jeudy gets a slight bump today against the Cowboys too. Ravens versus the Vikings. You want a lot of players in this game. Lamar Jackson, if you have Lamar Jackson, guys, I should not see a single Lamar Jackson question ever. Start Lamar Jackson. He's the best rushing quarterback of all time. Fantasy points are very skewed to rushing yards. So especially the quarterback position, you got to start Lamar. You also should be strongly considering Rashad Bateman. I've seen a lot of Rashad Bateman questions. I think Marquise Brown has got to be ahead of Rashad Bateman in everyone's rankings, but Bateman is a good receiver. He's coming off the bye too. He had 2 weeks before the bye where he had a couple okay games. I don't think he's a must start though. I wouldn't say he's a must start. Personally, I think Ayuk versus Rashad Bateman is actually close this week. I would lean towards Ayuk over Bateman. That one could definitely end up being wrong though. On the other side of the ball, the Vikings, I think you have to start Justin Jefferson. You have to start Adam Thielen. I actually think you kind of have to start Kirk Cousins too. No defense has allowed more passing yards per game than the Baltimore Ravens. This game could turn out into a shootout fast. Obviously, you want to be starting Dalvin Cook. And honestly, I think Tyler Conklin could be in the must-start conversation this week as well. In the next game, we got the Patriots versus the Panthers. For the Patriots, I think Jacoby Myers is close to must-start territory. I think Damian Harris is also close to must-start territory, but I wouldn't put them both in the must-start list. But the Patriots are a run-first team, and I think they could beat the Panthers pretty bad. That's why I'm taking the Patriots -3.5 versus the Panthers today. For the Panthers, you don't need to start Christian McCaffrey, but you probably should. He's going to be on a snap count, but you probably should start Christian McCaffrey. You also should be starting DJ Moore. Like, you kind of have to start DJ Moore. Guys, start DJ Moore. I know he's been bad. He hasn't scored more than 15 points in 4 straight weeks, even though he started the season with 4 consecutive games over 15 points. But DJ Moore is still dominating the Panthers in target share, and the Patriots secondary has been just okay this season. They did just do really well against the Chargers, but Keenan Allen had a pretty good game against the Patriots, and DJ Moore plays a very similar role. For the Buffalo Bills, start all the Buffalo Bills players. The Bills are going to put up 30-plus points with ease against the Jaguars today. They could beat the Jaguars by more than 30. You got to start Josh Allen. You got to start Zach Moss. Honestly, Devin Singletary, you kind of have to start him too. You want to start Stephon Diggs and Cole Beasley. And honestly, I know Emmanuel Sanders put up a donut last week, 0 points, but he's in must-start territory as well. For the Jacksonville Jaguars, I wouldn't put a single player on the Jaguars in must-start list. Like, James Robinson likely out this week. I want nothing to do with Carlos Hyde. I've wanted nothing to do with him this entire season. He's just not good. Like, I'm a big believer that volume is the most important thing in fantasy, but kind of unless we're talking about Carlos Hyde, because Carlos Hyde is just on a whole different territory. Carlos Hyde is I think 32 years old and way past his prime on a horrible team that's going to get crushed today. Jamal Agnew's leading the Jaguars in targets. Like, how can you trust Marvin Jones and Laviska Shenault? Like, they should do well, but the Bills' defense is also really good. There's not a single Jaguars player I think you have to start today. Honestly, like, it's just you experience physical pain rooting for any of the Jaguars players. It's really tough. It's a tough, bleak world rooting for any Jaguars players. The Browns versus the Bengals. You have to be starting Nick Chubb. I think Dearness Johnson's an interesting sleeper this week. I think Jarvis Landry is kind of a must-start now with Odell Beckham Jr. out. Donovan Peoples-Jones, very interesting sleeper. He was my sleepiest, deepest, darkest play in that game. I think Donovan Peoples-Jones could see a much bigger role without Odell Beckham Jr. in the picture. Also, the Bengals secondary, last time they played, they allowed 400 passing yards to Mike White. So this is a pretty good bounce-back game for Baker Mayfield in this whole passing attack. But I also think this could be a massive, massive Nick Chubb week. For the Bengals, you have to start Joe Mixon. You really should be starting Jamar Chase every single week now. T. Higgins, I think, is in must-start territory as well. I wouldn't put Tyler Boyd in must-start territory, but he's close. The next game is the Raiders versus the Giants. I think Hunter Renfrow is, to me, one of the safest plays at the wide receiver position this week. Like, he's almost a lock for 10 points. I think he's going to see pretty consistent volume, but the guy that's going to step into that Henry Ruggs role, in my opinion, is going to be Bryan Edwards. So I think Bryan Edwards has a really interesting ceiling. I like Hunter Renfrow's floor more than Bryan Edwards' ceiling. So I would go Renfrow over Bryan Edwards, but I'm starting both of them DraftKings lineup today. I think you can put them both near must-start territory, but not in must-start territory for most teams. Josh Jacobs, to me, is not in must-start territory because he has 0 receiving upside, and if he doesn't score a touchdown, he's probably going under 10 points. For the Giants, I think Devonte Booker is in must-start territory. He had 21 touches. He had 5 catches, 16 carries last week, over 100 yards. Like, he really has just locked into a lot the Saquon Barkley volume. So you got to like Devonte Booker a lot. I think Kadarius Toney's near must-start territory, and Kenny Galladay's back this week too. And he's probably going to see pretty good volume against the Raiders, but the Raiders defense has been low-key good this season. So I wouldn't put Galladay or Toney in must-start territory, but they're both close. For the Raiders also, we didn't mention Darren Waller. Darren Waller is the number 2 tight end this week. He's my favorite DraftKings FanDuel tight end. He's priced below Travis Kelce. Darren Waller could easily also end up being the biggest benefactor of the Henry Ruggs absence. I do think Conklin is in must-start territory against the Ravens, by the way. Carlos Hyde or Jeremy McNichols. Oh, God, just brutal. I think I would probably go Carlos Hyde over Jeremy McNichols, but it's close. It really is close. And I would strongly consider McNichols there. The next game, the Falcons. They're one of my locks against the spread today, +6 against the Saints. The Saints are starting Trevor Siemian. The only must-start for the Saints is Alvin Kamara. Not a single other guy is a must-start. And for the Falcons, Cordell Patterson, definitely a must-start. Other than that, Kyle Pitts is a must-start. And it's not a good matchup for Kyle Pitts, but he's still a must-start. And I think the Falcons are going to beat the Saints today. Like, how is Trevor Siemian a 6-point favorite? I get it. The Falcons haven't been good, and the Saints defense has looked really great. But like Trevor Siemian and Taysom Hill are probably the worst starting quarterbacks today. And this is a week where we're going to see Jacoby Brissett and Jordan Love and Tyrod Taylor. Like, and I would take all those guys over Trevor Siemian and Taysom Hill. And the quarterback position is just by far the most important position. Guys, we are live on TikTok and YouTube right now. And if you come to the YouTube live, you can see my top 10 rankings: quarterbacks, wide receivers, running backs, tight ends, and my favorite picks against the spread, my DraftKings lineup, all of that's on the YouTube live. Just scrolling at the bottom of the screen. The link is in the TikTok bio. And if you are watching live on YouTube, hit the like button and the subscribe button. We're about to go over my free prop pick of the day. We're about to finish the must-start list, though. The Chargers are half-point favorites, really a pick 'em against the Eagles. I think you have to be starting Mike Williams this week. I know Mike Williams has been struggling, but you really got to start. It's not a great matchup for Mike Williams, but he still has the ceiling in that offense that you want to be starting Mike Williams. Keenan Allen also in must-start territory. Obviously, you're starting Austin Eckler. For the Eagles, the only must-start for me is Jalen Hurts. Like, I like Jalen Hurts still. He struggled as a passer, but because he runs so much, he still is a pretty good fantasy option. The running backs for the Eagles are interesting this week because the Chargers' run defense is bottom 2 in the NFL. Their pass defense is actually really, really good. They've been a top 5 pass defense, but a bottom 5 run defense. That's the Los Angeles Chargers. So I don't hate Boston Scott. I don't hate Jordan Howard. I don't hate Kenneth Gainwell. But like at least 2 of those guys are probably going to end up being busts, and at least one of them is probably going to do well. If I were to pick one that was going to do well, it's Boston Scott. So I guess he's the closest one to the must-start list. I do not think Devonte Smith is a must-start play this week. Dallas Goedert, though, is. I think you got to start Dallas Goedert. There's really very few tight ends that would be starting over Dallas Goedert. I can pull that up right now. The Packers versus the Chiefs. I think Jordan Love is probably my favorite streaming quarterback this week. The Chiefs have allowed the second most fantasy points per game to quarterbacks this season. And Javonte Adams is playing. Aaron Jones is playing. Like the Chiefs offense is also an offense that I have very, very little concern about. Like the Chiefs offense is going to put up points. This Packers-Chiefs game is going to be fun, and it could be a big Jordan Love game in his first ever career start against the Chiefs. So I think Jordan Love, Aaron Jones, and Devonte Adams is a must-start. We got our Packers.WalterPicks creator heading to the Packers game with free tickets from A.J. Dillon today. So we're also big fans of A.J. Dillon today as well. For the Chiefs, you got to start Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, start Patrick Mahomes. I've seen way too many Patrick Mahomes questions today. Start Patrick Mahomes. Then we only have 3 games left. 49ers versus the Cardinals. Kyler Murray likely out in this game. DeAndre Hopkins likely out in this game. AJ Green is out in this game. So we're assuming all 3 of those guys are out. Colt McCoy going to be starting for the Cardinals. I think the 49ers are going to cover this 3.5-point spread easily. I'm not sure if this line has moved since this morning, but that's one of my locks against the spread today. I think that you kind of have to be starting Deebo Samuel. Like, I think you have to start him. I know he's dealing with an injury. You still have to start him. I like Brandon Ayuk this week. I'm not going to say he's a must start because it's Brandon Ayuk, and we all know what he's done this season. But he did see a 90% snap share, most targets of the season last week. I like Brandon Ayuk this week. I also do like Chase Edmonds this week and Rondale Moore. I like Rondale Moore more than Christian Kirk because I think Colt McCoy is not going to be able to push the ball downfield to Christian Kirk. Like usually DeAndre Hopkins and AJ Green being out, that would help Christian Kirk more than Rondale Moore. But Rondale Moore is the guy that I think is going to be able to help out Colt McCoy the most. And I don't think you should start George Kittle this week. Honestly, I think George Kittle is a must bench, not a must start this week. The Cardinals have allowed the least points to tight ends this entire season. They're the number 1 defense against tight ends, and George Kittle is going to be on a snap count today. In the Rams versus the Titans game, the Titans have allowed the most points to wide receivers this season. You got to be starting Matthew Stafford. You got to be starting Robert Woods, who didn't practice this week, but still start him. Obviously, Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp, number 1 receiver this season. Like, he should be just locked into your lineups always. You got to start Darrell Henderson in that game, of course, as well. And I think Tyler Higbee's in must-start territory as well. For the Tennessee Titans, AJ Brown, he's also locked in your starting lineup the rest of the season. I think Adrian Peterson is going to have that first and second down role. Jeremy McNichols is going to have the receiving role out of the backfield. Both of them, to me, are running back 3s with running back 2 upside. I think Adrian Peterson has the better chance at a touchdown, which is why I like him more in half PPR, non-PPR formats. But I think McNichols gets more of the catches, which is why I like him more in PPR formats. I also think that Julio Jones, probably a must-start play this week against the Rams. Julio Jones, not even on the injury report. If you have Julio Jones in your fantasy team, like, what are you waiting? What do you need to start him? He's been injured the whole season. He's finally not on the injury report. There's no Derrick Henry. The Titans are, I think, 7.5-point underdogs against the Rams. Like, this is the week for Julio Jones to be in your starting lineup. The Bears plus 6.5 versus the Steelers. I like the Bears to win that. Like 6.5 points to the Steelers to me is just too many. I know the Bears have just been atrocious this season, and the Steelers defense is probably going to be a problem for them. There's really no must-start players on the Bears. Like, not a single must-start player on the Bears. They just throw so little. David Montgomery is also back, so Khalil Herbert's by like a pretty big risk this week. And then the Pittsburgh Steelers, I would be starting Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool and Najee Harris, and I would start Pat Freiermuth this week too. I think he's actually pretty good play against the Bears. Deebo Samuel, yeah, you got to be starting Deebo Samuel. All right, let's get back to some of the questions in the chat, guys. If you're watching live on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We are so close to 5,000 YouTube subscribers, guys. Hit the subscribe button. We are live every Thursday night, every Sunday morning, and we're actually going to be doing a Monday night live every single night for the rest of the season as well with our Packers and Falcons creator. Should I start Ayuk, Devonte Smith, or A.J. Dillon at flex? Yeah, I think Devonte Smith is just so risky this week against a really good Chargers secondary. I like A.J. Dillon this week against the Chiefs. I think A.J. Dillon's going to see like minimum 10 touches. I like Ayuk the most, though. I think I would go Ayuk. Prop pick. Yep, we got a prop pick for you. We are over the 200 likes on the YouTube live stream. So the free prop pick of the day. And we're running it back this week. And this is something I do very, very rarely, is run it back for the same player who either hits or didn't hit the previous week. But guys, I think one of the safest props of this entire week, arguably the safest prop in my mind, is once again, and you got to tell me what you're seeing this prop at because it could have moved since I last saw it, but it's Nick Chubb, over 82.5 rushing yards. Guys, Nick Chubb, he has seen at least 15 carries in all but one game this season. He's got a pretty good matchup against the Bengals defense. They rank 12th worst against running backs this season. Walter has Nick Chubb ranked projected for 99 rushing yards in week 9. Nick Chubb has been just very, very, very consistent on the ground this season. And with no Kareem Hunt, like he's really just locked into such a clear 15 plus carries. They're not going to give him 30 carries like the Titans would give Derrick Henry 30 carries. They watch his workload. Dearness Johnson will be involved. But Nick Chubb's the most efficient running back in the league. The Browns are 1-point underdogs in this game. I think the Browns win this game, though. They're going to lean on Nick Chubb, as they always do. I'm taking Nick Chubb over 82.5 rushing yards. I think he could do this easily. I think he's going to be flirting with 100 yards today. Love or Tyrod Taylor? Yeah, I like Jordan Love more than Tyrod Taylor. I like Jordan Love more than Tyrod Taylor. I would argue Tyrod Taylor is the safer floor, but I like Jordan Love more than Tyrod Taylor. I'm seeing a Jacoby Brissett versus Kirk Cousins question. That one's not even close. Kirk Cousins is just so much better. The Ravens have allowed the most passing yards per game this season. Kirk Cousins is actually a really, really, really good play. Is Brandon Cooks a must start? Yeah, he is. Who's a better fantasy option, CeeDee Lamb? Or, let me scroll up to this question really quickly. I didn't see who the other option was, but probably Pittman. Yeah, definitely CeeDee Lamb. Rest of the season, CeeDee Lamb over Pittman all day long. CeeDee Lamb is the top 5 upside every single week. That's how good CeeDee Lamb is and how good the Cowboys offense is. Guys, if you're watching live on TikTok, by the way, we're also live on YouTube. Link is in the TikTok bio. You get to see my top 10 rankings for every single position. And also, I got the free prop pick up on the YouTube live. You see my Draftkings lineup, my favorite picks against the spread. The link, you're also you're 2 presses of your thumb away from the YouTube live. The link is in the TikTok bio. We're trying to hit 5,000 YouTube subscribers today, too. So if you're tuned into the YouTube live, first of all, thank you guys all so much for tuning in. I say this every live at least once. I think I've already said it on this live. Time is the most valuable thing you have in life. So the fact that you are spending some time with me this Sunday morning, I really do appreciate it. Love your page, Sam. Thanks, Andrew. Darrell Williams or Cole Beasley at flex. Yeah, I'm actually a little nervous about Darrell Williams. Watching Derek Gore steal touches away. Derek Gore, the reincarnation of Frank Gore. By the way, I really wanted the Titans to sign Frank Gore. Frank Gore technically has not retired from the NFL, by the way. I think I read somewhere he might be in some boxing match against who is he? Delonte West or something? Maybe I'm remembering this incorrectly. Anyway, I think I would go Cole Beasley over Darrell Williams pretty easily, especially if this is a PPR league. Pick 2: Judy, Myers, Bateman, Ayuk, Galladay. Yeah, all these guys really, really tough decisions here. I feel like I'm telling a lot of people to bench Rashad Bateman, which could end up being a mistake because I think the Ravens and Vikings game could be a massive, massive shootout, in which case you're going to want Rashad Bateman. But personally, I think I would go with Galladay and Jacoby Myers here. To me, they're the safest guys. I've been here since 9 a.m. Central Time. 5 stars given. Thanks, man. Mario, thank you so much for tuning in. And the question here is Waddle, Cooks, or Cooper. Yeah, all 3 of these guys are really good options. I like Cooks the most. I do like Cooks a lot today. I think rest of season, it's Amari Cooper. I think Jalen Waddle, he deserves to be in this conversation, but especially with Tua out now, I think I would go Cooks. Jarvis Landry or T. Higgins. Yeah, I like both these guys. I like both guys this week. I think I personally would lean towards Jarvis Landry, though, over T. Higgins for the floor. T. Higgins, to me, has a higher ceiling. But with Odell out, Jarvis Landry is kind of locked into pretty good target flying now. Just plugging in my phone to the charger. Sorry about this TikTok live. We are live on TikTok and YouTube right now. We're live on TikTok and YouTube. And on the YouTube live, you get a little bit more insight into my top 10 rankings. for every single position. My favorite picks against the spread. Guys, I've had 57% accuracy against the spread this season. Way, way, way better than I would have expected. Hollywood or Waddle? Yeah, Jay, like both these guys, I do like Hollywood, I think, a little bit more than Waddle. Lamar Jackson just versus Jacoby Brissett, to me, is the tiebreaker. I think that's the best tiebreaker for your receiver decisions, by the way. Who's the quarterback thrown to them? No receiver is quarterback proof. Just ask Allen Robinson. No receiver is quarterback proof, man. So I think that is a good tiebreaker. Who are your starts over Christian McCaffrey? Yeah, so first of all, let me pull up my top 10 running back plays. I think all these guys, you got to be starting over Christian McCaffrey. I would be starting Cordell Patterson over Christian McCaffrey. I think Devonte Booker is kind of like the cutoff for me. Like Devonte Booker versus Christian McCaffrey. Obviously, McCaffrey is just like way better than Devonte Booker, but Booker's going to touch the ball more than McCaffrey this week. I wouldn't knock you for starting Devonte Booker over McCaffrey, but after that, that's probably the line. That's probably the line for me. I do think McCaffrey is startable, like even in some sort of limited capacity today. Who are your starts over Deebo Samuel? Yeah, there's not very many. I think I still have Deebo Samuel. Yeah, I have him ranked as my number 4 receiver. Like, I know he's dealing with an injury. He's just been too good. He's been too good. And, like, there's definitely that injury risk that you got to keep in mind. But he's been the number 3 receiver. Trade for Ayuk in Dynasty? Yeah. Ayuk, like, this is why Dynasty Fantasy Football is so fun, by the way. If you haven't played Dynasty Fantasy Football yet, you got to consider trying it out next season. You can really start a Dynasty League at any time, too. But, yeah, Ayuk, the talent is there. And in Dynasty, less so than season long, you want to buy into the talent. Because with talent, volume usually follows. In season long, you're just chasing the volume every week. And Ayuk, like, the talent is there. Ayuk or Jacoby Myers, I'd probably go Myers over Ayuk this week. Woods or Sutton or Mooney? Woods is also dealing with an injury, and I would still go Woods over Sutton and Mooney. I mean, Mooney is just like, Darnell Mooney and Allen Robinson are just so tough to trust. Thoughts on Alvin Kamara? Yeah, I mean, Alvin Kamara's top 5 running back rest of the season, could easily be number 1. He's going to have to carry the Saints offense on his back. No Michael Thomas, no Jameis Winston. Like, the offense is just so depleted of talent, and now they're playing with Trevor Siemian and Taysom Hill, like, which is, to me, not good for Alvin Kamara, but the volume's there, the talent's obviously there. He's a top 5 running back rest of the way, in my opinion, and obviously must start every week. Julio or Ayuk? Yeah, Ryan, I'd go Julio Jones over Ayuk. Tua or Love? Jordan Love for me over Jacoby Brissett. Tua is not playing today. Tua is out. So, some guys really quickly that you got to bench. Some guys that are out. Let's just run through some guys that are out that you like have to 100% get out of your lineups. Kyler Murray, likely out today. DeAndre Hopkins, likely out today. AJ Green is out today. James Robinson is likely out today. Tua is out today. So get all those guys out of your lineups ASAP. I like Julio Jones against they're 7.5-point underdogs against the Rams. Julio Jones not even on an injury report. Like, if you have Julio Jones, what are you waiting for other than a week like this where he's not on the injury report? Because, like, the injuries have been such a bad thing for Julio this whole season, really all of last season too. But when healthy, Julio Jones is still good. And with no Derrick Henry for the Titans, they're going to have to throw a little bit more. Survival pool pick this week. Yeah, I think there's a couple good options. I think the Rams are a decent option against the Titans. I also think my favorite pick for the survivor pool is the Bills. Like, the Bills, there's just 0% chance the Bills lose to the Jaguars this week. I think they're going to beat them by more than 30 points. Like, to me, there's a better chance that the Bills beat the Jaguars by 30 than there is that they lose to the Jaguars. They're 14.5-point favorites today. I also do like the Cowboys 10-point favorites against the Broncos. Those are probably my favorite picks in the survivor pools. Boston Scott or Javonte Williams. And this one's super close. Boston Scott has a good matchup this week. He does. He's a good matchup this week. The Chargers are the 3rd worst rushing defense in the NFL. You adjust for strength of opponent, and you can make an argument that they are the worst rushing defense in the NFL. So that's why I think I would go Boston Scott. Hey, Sam, love the app. Need a win this week. Pick 2. Joseph, thanks for trying out the WalterPicks app. Guys, if you haven't tried out the WalterPicks app yet, you got to try it out. It gives you machine learning projections that have been the most accurate that I've ever seen over the last 2 years. They've been significantly more accurate than ESPN and Yahoo. They've been more accurate than really every service out there. And it's completely free to go use. Get 10 free start to decisions when you first download the app. And if you try any of the premium subscriptions, you also get completely free 7 days. And also helps you dominate trades in DraftKings and FanDuel and player props. So yeah, try out the WalterPicks app. Joseph is loving it. Thank you, Joseph. Need a win this week. Yeah, we all need wins this week. We got to get wins this week. Pick 2, Waddle, Judy, Devonte Booker, Julio Bateman. Yeah, honestly, like, to me, Devonte Booker is the safest guy on the list just because he's locked in. Like, he had 21 touches last week. No other guy on this list is going to even come close to 21 touches. So I would go Devonte Booker. And then for me, it's between Waddle and Julio. And with Jacoby Brissett playing, I would not knock you for going Julio over Waddle. To me, though, Waddle's the safest. Like, if you're going the safe route here, you go Devonte Booker and Jalen Waddle. If you're going the risky route, you go Devonte Booker and Julio Jones. I do like Rashad Bateman this week, too. I feel like I'm telling so many people to bench Rashad Bateman. But Bateman just has a lot of competition for targets. Saquon for Diggs in a PPR league. No, I think you got to hold on to Saquon. So, like, running backs are just harder to find than receivers. Jordan Love or Jalen Hurts. Oh, man. Like, I actually want to say Jordan Love, but it just got to be Jalen Hurts with the rushing he's seen. Hey, Sam, quick question. Should I play 49ers defense or the Raiders defense? Yeah, the Raiders are up against the Giants today, 3-point favorites, but on the road in New York. The Giants could easily win that game. I think you got to go the 49ers. The 49ers are playing Colt McCoy at home. 49ers are playing Colt McCoy, 35-year-old Colt McCoy at home. I know the Cardinals are, like, going to have good schemes for the game, but I think you kind of have to go 49ers. Renfro or Bateman? I think Bateman has a significantly higher ceiling than Renfro in my eyes, but Renfro is way safer floor. Renfro's been really consistent this season, and with no more Henry Ruggs, it's only going to be more consistency from Hunter Renfro. Bateman also has been pretty consistent in his 2 games, and he's coming off the bye, but Hunter Renfro has at least 6 targets in every game but 1 this season. But he hasn't gotten over 20 points a single time. Like, Rashad Bateman has that ceiling. And I think the Vikings-Ravens game could be a shootout. Personally, I'd chase the ceiling here and go Bateman. But if you're chasing the floor and you just want to lock in at least 10 points, you go Hunter Renfro. Mike Davis or Kenny Gainwell, 0.5 points, PPR. Yet you just can't be trusting Kenny Gainwell. Like, how could you possibly trust Kenneth Gainwell right now? Boston Scott and Jordan Howard just dominated him in touches. I don't think he even had a touch in the first half of that game. So, yeah, you got to be Mike Davis. Jordan Love against worst QB defense or Derek Carr? Jordan Love. I think it's fine to go Jordan Love over Derek Carr this week. Do you start Deebo Samuel? Yeah, you got to start Deebo Samuel. Yeah, and I do think Jordan Love is a very sneaky play this week. The Chiefs' offense is going to put up points. Like, I'm very, very not worried about the Chiefs' offense against the Packers' defense, but I am pretty confident in the Chiefs' defense being awful. Like, they're a bottom 5 defense in the league. So, yeah, I don't hate it. I do not hate it at all. Guys, we're live on TikTok and YouTube right now. On the YouTube Live, you can see my top 10 rankings, quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, favorite picks against the spread. Link is in the TikTok bio. Come check it out. And, guys, if you haven't tried out the WalterPicks app yet, I've spent literally at this point over 10,000 hours of my lifetime building the WalterPicks app for you to dominate your fantasy leagues. It leverages machine learning. And if you are an Android person listening to this, we're coming soon, man. We're coming soon. Bryan Edwards or Jerry Jeudy? Yeah, this one's really close. Personally, I would lean towards Jerry Jeudy over Bryan Edwards, but I think I do think it's really close. And to me, they're really similar options. Jerry Jeudy's just better than Bryan Edwards, though. So I think I would go Jerry Jeudy. Here. Ingram or Ertz? It's Colt McCoy versus Daniel Jones. I think I would probably go Evan Ingram over Ertz. But on the other side of that, there's no DeAndre Hopkins this week. There's no Christian Kirk this week. That's probably going to mean more points and targets for Zach Ertz. And we could see Colt McCoy dump it off a lot. The 49ers, though, have been pretty good against tight ends. They're the 7th best defense against tight ends this season. So I think I'd probably go Evan Ingram. Keenan Allen or A.J. Brown? Yeah, it's definitely A.J. Guys, you've got to start A.J. Brown every single week. A.J. Brown should be locked into your starting lineup for the rest of the season, no questions asked. Emmanuel Sanders or Tyler Boyd, half PPR, and 250 likes. Let's go. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, Nick. That's what I'm talking about. Appreciate everyone that's hit that like button on the YouTube Live. And everyone that's hit the subscribe button and the follow button on TikTok today, too. Appreciate you guys a ton. Emmanuel Sanders versus Tyler Boyd. I'd probably go Manny Sanders against the Jaguars. Again, the Bills offense really has zero limit to the amount of points they could score today. There's no limit. The limit does not exist for the number of points that the Bills could score. Cousins, Love, or Baker. I would honestly rank these guys probably Kirk Cousins number 1, Baker Mayfield number 2, Love number 3. And all 3 of these guys could have good games. I think Kirk Cousins is actually a really safe play, though. Again, the Ravens have allowed the most passing yards per game to quarterbacks this season. Nobody's allowed more passing yards per game than the Ravens. So it's a good game for Kirk Cousins. CMC or Brandon Cooks? Yeah, I'd probably go Brandon Cooks over Christian McCaffrey today. Hey, Sam, bench Mitchell for Wilson? No, you can't. You can't do that yet. Rondale Moore or Kadarius Toney? Probably Kadarius Toney. I'd probably go Kadarius Toney over Rondale Moore. But it's close. I would go Kadarius Toney, though. They're really similar options. Kadarius Toney and Rondale Moore, both just freaks after the catch. So good after the catch. And I do think Rondale Moore is going to be in a good role today with no DeAndre Hopkins, no AJ Green, and no Kyler Murray. Like, they just have to get Rondale Moore involved. I still would go Kadarius Toney, though. Kadarius Toney weirdly didn't play that much last game. I know he's dealing with injuries too, and Kenny Golladay is back. But I still think he's the better option over Rondale Moore. I do like Rondale Moore, though. Debo or Mike Williams. You got to start Debo Samuel. I know he's dealing with an injury. He's been the number 3 receiver, though, this season. Like, you just got to start him. Elijah Mitchell and Jeff Wilson, to me, are really risky plays because we don't know what the touch distribution is going to be there. With Jeff Wilson coming back, it could be a kind of a lose-lose situation for both those guys. George Kittle is a must-bench play this week. Guys, you got to be benching George Kittle. You have to be benching George Kittle today. George Kittle's up against the best tight end defense in the NFL, and he's on a snap count. All right, we're getting a Darren Waller versus Gesicki this week. No tight end has scored more points than Mike Gesicki over the last 3 weeks, but we should never see any Darren Waller questions, especially with Henry Ruggs out of the Raiders now. Like, Darren Waller is just locked in as a top 2 tight end every week. It's him and Travis Kelce, and they're in a tier of their own still. Should I trade Calvin Ridley if I can get someone like CMC? Yeah, I mean, definitely. The Calvin Ridley situation is really tough for fantasy. I'm really trying to remove the Calvin Ridley situation from what it means from fantasy. I really hope Calvin Ridley gets well. But in terms of fantasy football, there's just no way to know when Calvin Ridley returns. There's a chance he's out for the rest of the season. There's a chance he never plays football again. It's possible. I hope that's not the case, but it's possible. So yeah, if you can get really anything for Calvin Ridley in fantasy, you probably should. Rondale Moore versus Bryan Edwards. 2 of my favorite sleepers of the week. Rondale Moore, Bryan Edwards. Bryan Edwards, to me, he fits the Henry Ruggs role the best on the Raiders. But I still think Rondale Moore is a little bit safer than Bryan Edwards. Again, I think a lot of stars are aligning for Rondale Moore this week to have a bigger workload because Kyler Murray is not playing. I see some Kyler Murray questions in the chat. Kyler Murray is likely not playing. Let me refresh the news here to make sure we haven't missed any breaking news. Tua is also out today. DeAndre Hopkins also likely out. James Robinson's officially ruled out. CeeDee Lamb is officially ruled in. Amari Cooper officially ruled in. Getting some of the late news today. Sam Darnold officially playing. Taysom Hill is active but not starting. I mean, I honestly think the Taysom Hill thing is less about injuries. Taysom Hill's just not, he's not good. He's not a good quarterback. He's a running back. Jerry or Rondale Moore or Bateman, pick one. I need upside. Yeah, if you're looking for upside, then you almost have to go with Rashad Bateman. I mean, Rashad Bateman has just such massive upside. The Ravens-Vikings game has massive shootout potential. So I think Bateman has the highest ceiling. I would argue that Jerry Jeudy and Bateman are the ceiling plays over Rondale Moore. Rondale Moore he's not going to get any targets deep down the field. Claypool or Ayuk if Debo doesn't play. Yeah, if Debo doesn't play, then, I mean, it's got to be Ayuk. But if Debo plays, which I think Debo is going to play, then it's definitely Chase Claypool. Zach Moss or Damian Harris. This one's close. I think it's got to be Zach Moss, though. Guys, we are live on TikTok and YouTube right now. Link is in the TikTok bio for the YouTube Live. You get a little bit more info on the YouTube Live. It's a little bit easier for me to pull up the YouTube Live questions, too. You get my favorite picks against the spread, top 10 rankings for every single position, and my Draftkings lineup, all just scrolling at the bottom of the screen on the YouTube Live. Link, again, you're like two presses away if you're on the TikTok Live to get to the YouTube Live. If you are tuned into the YouTube Live, guys, hit the like button. Also, hit the subscribe button. We're so close to 5,000 YouTube subscribers, and you could be one of the first 5,000 YouTube subscribers, one of the true OGs of this YouTube channel, which we're have very, very big plans for in the future. McNichols or Christian Kirk? I saw a question also about Adrian Peterson in the chat. My thoughts on Adrian Peterson versus Jeremy McNichols are this. I think Adrian Peterson is going to get more carries than Jeremy McNichols. I think he's going to have the first and second down role, kind of the Derrick Henry-esque role. So, if the Titans get leads, Adrian Peterson could have some massive games. But I think Jeremy McNichols is the better PPR play this week because he's the one that's going to get the receiving role. He's, to me, has a much higher upside in the receiving game. So in PPR, I'd go McNichols. In half PPR, non-PPR, I'd probably go Adrian Peterson. But in this question, McNichols versus Kirk, I really don't like Christian Kirk at all this week with Colt McCoy starting. I know, I do like Kirk because Hopkins and AJ Green is out, though. That is a big boost for Christian Kirk. So, yeah, I think the ceiling is with Kirk. The floor is probably with McNichols. With two guys like this, though, the floor is still so low that maybe you should just go Christian Kirk and send it because Christian Kirk does have at least a good ceiling. Sam, I have no idea who to start. This is exactly why I built the WalterPicks app, which leverages machine learning. It gives you the ceiling and floor outcome for every player of every game, but it also gives you machine learning projections that are way better than ESPN, way better than Yahoo. So check out the WalterPicks app also to help you with your start sit decisions. If I can't I'm not going to be able to get to every single comment. I'm trying to get to as many as I can. But also check out the WalterPicks app. It's going to help you. Link is in the bio of the YouTube stream. Link is also in the TikTok bio to get the WalterPicks app. Completely free to download, completely free to try out. Sam, I have no idea who to start. Pick 2. DJ Moore, Adam Thielen, or Nick Chubb. All right, first of all, if you have Nick Chubb, you have to start Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb actually was the free player prop pick of the day. The free player prop pick of the day is Nick Chubb over 82.5 rushing yards. I think Chubb's very good chance to go over 100 yards today. Walter has him projected for 99 yards. But the other parts of the question, I lost the comment, but I think it was Nick Chubb. Oh no, now I'm forgetting who the question was. But you got to start Nick Chubb. You definitely need to start Nick Chubb. In Sam we trust. Ignoring Walter Day, Tony over Cooper. Yeah, Greg. I think you were in the TikTok live on Thursday too, saying Tony's gonna go for 100 yards today. I don't hate Tony. I really don't. And like usually when you're on hunches like this, Greg, you are right. I don't hate Kadarius Toney at all, and you're giving me a little bit more confidence in him. And I do have to say, I say this every stream as well. The best part about fantasy football is that you get to make your own decision. So I'm going to give you a lot of advice. The WalterPicks app is going to give you really the best insights that you need to make your own decision. At the end of the day, you got to make your own call. And Sam, we trust. Thoughts on trade Ridley, maybe with Moss for Barkley. Yeah, I like that a lot. I've been here since 9:30. Wow, man. I appreciate that. Do I start Kirk Cousins or Jordan Love? I would definitely go Kirk. I would definitely go Kirk over Jordan Love. I like both today. Pick 2, Kirk, Moore, Myers, or Tony. Also, Chiefs or Packers, no spread. Yeah, no spread. I think I'd go Chiefs. No spread, I think I'd go Chiefs. But I do like the Packers against the spread, and I think it's going to be a close game. Packers are, I think, 7-point underdogs. Jordan Love is just a really big wild card, though. There is a chance Jordan Love is bad. There is a chance Jordan Love is bad. We've never seen him play. It's been a backup really his whole career. All right, back to this question, though. Christian Kirk, Rondale Moore, Jacoby Myers, or Kadarius Toney. Also Chiefs or Packers, no spread. Yeah, so I would go Chiefs, no spread, Packers against the spread. I would probably go in this situation, I'd probably go Kadarius Toney and Jacoby Myers. Just play the two guys that aren't catching passes from Colt McCoy. That's probably what I would do, Jackson. Julio Jones or Toney? I like Julio Jones a little bit more than Toney. But I do like both this week. I do like Kadarius Toney this week. Julio Jones or Toney, yeah, that's what I would do. Been here for a fat minute. Tanner, thanks for tuning in, man. I do appreciate it. Again, I think time's just so valuable. So I appreciate you all tuning in to the live stream this Sunday morning. It's going to be a great Sunday of football. A lot of exciting games. Flex, Woods, Emmanuel Sanders, Booker, or CMC starting Eckler and Patterson at running back. Yeah, Chris McCaffrey. I would just go Christian McCaffrey. Just go Christian McCaffrey. I think we talked about this earlier, like who I would start over Christian McCaffrey. And for me, the cutoff is Devonte Booker. Like, honestly, I wouldn't knock you for starting Devonte Booker over CMC. I think Booker's going to play, touch the ball more than Christian McCaffrey. I still think, like, in this situation, I would be fine going Christian McCaffrey. To me, it's between McCaffrey and Booker, though. Cheap sleeper for under $15 on Yahoo. There's a lot of good sleepers today. I would check out how much Brian Edwards and Hunter Renfrow cost. I'm not super familiar with the Yahoo salaries, but Hunter Renfrow and Brian Edwards to me are pretty good sleepers. Hey, Sam, Tony or Devontae Smith and Damian Harris or Boston Scott? Yeah, I would go Tony and Damian Harris. I'd go Tony and Damian Harris. Devontae Smith's really, just not in a good matchup this week. The Chargers are a really tough matchup for receivers. Just gave a 5-star review on the app. John, thanks so much. Again, if you haven't checked out the WalterPicks app yet, you got to check it out. Amari Cooper or Jalen Waddle? I'd go Amari Cooper over Jalen Waddle. I like Jalen Waddle this week, but Amari Cooper is just much better than him. I'm in a tough spot with Kyler Murray today. Yeah, guys, if you haven't heard, Kyler Murray's likely out. Should I start Tyrod Taylor in the early window and not risk it? Or wait and see if Kyler plays, and if he doesn't, then start Jimmy G. What do you think I should do? Yeah, I would probably just try out Tyrod Taylor there. I think we can safely assume Kyler's not going to play. And even if he does play, he's playing without DeAndre Hopkins and AJ Green. And he's probably going to be kind of limited with his injury. The injury is real, whether or not he plays. So I think just try out Tyrod Taylor against the 4th worst defense, the Miami Dolphins, against quarterbacks this season. Tyrod Taylor's probably going to go 20-plus points. This is exactly why it's not that big of a deal to not put that much value into quarterbacks in fantasy, because, here we are, week 9. And you can just go add Tyrod Taylor or add Jordan Love, and, you probably have a top 12 quarterback this week. So that's what I would do. Hey, Sam, pick 2, Herbert, Mitchell, Judy, Myers, Bateman. Yeah, I really don't want very much to do with Khalil Herbert this week. with David Montgomery returning. I don't really want much to do with Elijah Mitchell this week, with Jeff Wilson returning. Like, both these guys have been really, really good, impressive. But I'm nervous about them with the other running backs returning. So I would probably go with Myers and Bateman over Judy. Woods or Claypool. They're both in pretty good spots. The Bears have been like quietly horrible against receivers this season, the 4th most points per game to receivers. But Robert Woods against the Titans, they've allowed the most points to receivers. But Robert Woods also dealing with an injury, so I'd probably just lean towards Chase Claypool. I'm seeing a lot of Kittle questions again. Guys, this is the week to bench George Kittle. This is the week to bench George Kittle. The Cardinals have allowed the least points to tight ends this entire season. George Kittle also going to be in a snap count because he's dealing with an injury. So it's just not a great week for George Kittle. Wait one more week. Just be patient with George Kittle. Guys, we are live on TikTok and YouTube right now on the YouTube Live. You can see on the YouTube Live screen my top 10 quarterbacks, wide receivers, running backs, and tight ends, and my favorite picks against the spread. Let me adjust this quarterbacks list right here because this is not accounting for the Kyler Murray injury. We have Ryan Tannehill ranked as my number 6 tight end quarterback. I feel like that's kind of scary. But I do think that my number 9 quarterback now, 10 quarterback. Yeah, I'm nervous about this. Like, I've been kind of a non-believer in Jordan Love, but he's in my top 10 quarterbacks. He's number 10. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Dak Prescott, Matthew Stafford. Like, these are the 5 guys that you can really, really trust this week. All these other guys to me have top 5 upside, but also kind of a scary floor. Jordan Love, though. Love versus Tyrod Taylor. Yeah, I think Tyrod Taylor's safer. So Tyrod Taylor, Jacoby Brissett, Jordan Love. I would say Tyrod Taylor is the safest. Like, to me, Tyrod Taylor is the best chance at 20-plus points, or at least the least likely chance at under 10. The Dolphins' defense is bad, guys. But I like Jordan Love more than him this week overall. I think Jordan Love has the higher ceiling. I think the Chiefs' offense is going to put up a lot of points against the Packers. At home against the Packers, they're 7-point favorites in that game. And I do think that Jordan Love is in a really good spot. Like, the Chiefs' defense is just so bad. They've allowed the most points per game to quarterbacks, the 2nd most points per game to quarterbacks, right behind Washington. But over the last month, it's really been the Chiefs worse than the Washington defense against quarterbacks. Walter, how is it going? Classic mistake, guys. My name's actually Sam. Walter is the artificially intelligent algorithm I helped build to power the WalterPicks app, which you can go download completely free in the iOS App Store. Uses AI to just dominate fantasy sports. But my name's Sam. It's a classic mistake, man. Don't worry about it. Waddle, Beasley, or Claypool in my flex. I would rank these guys as Claypool number 1, Waddle number 2, Beasley number 3. All 3 guys are really good options. Love or Tannehill? Yeah, I'd probably go Tannehill over Love. You should be starting Deebo Samuel. Is Elijah Mitchell playing? Yeah, he is. He's likely playing. It's not confirmed, but probably playing. Jordan Love or Derek Carr? Yeah, I think I like Jordan Love a little bit more than Derek Carr. The Giants' defense has not been that great this season either. They've allowed the 15th most points per game to quarterbacks. Recently, their recent performances against quarterbacks, just pulling this up now, Mahomes threw 275 yards against them, but he didn't really have that good of a day. Through, I think, 1 interception, 0 touchdowns maybe. Yeah, 0 touchdowns against them. No quarterback has gone over 26 points against the Giants. A bunch of them have gone for 20 points, but more recently, like Dak Prescott and Mahomes went under 21 points against the Giants. Meanwhile, Jordan Love gets a matchup against the Kansas City Chiefs. And the Kansas City Chiefs have just been obliterated defensively. Like, nobody has done bad. Daniel Jones, over 15 points. Ryan Tannehill, over 15 points. Josh Allen put up 36. Jalen Hurts put up 28. Justin Herbert put up 30. Lamar Jackson put up 32. And Baker Mayfield was really the only guy that had a bad day. Taylor Heineke also didn't do super well. But yeah, I think Jordan Love's a pretty safe bet today. Top wide receivers. Let me pull up my top 10 wide receivers on the YouTube Live. Again, the link is in the TikTok bio. Just come to the YouTube Live where you get a little bit more info. My favorite receivers, quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, and my picks against the spread on the YouTube Live. If you are watching live on YouTube, guys, hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. We are just about an hour away from football, guys. Woods playing. Yeah, it sounds like Woods is playing even though he didn't practice this week. Sounds like Robert Woods is playing even though he did not practice this week. Thank you for the gifts in the TikTok Live. I do appreciate that. Latavius Murray's inactive today, guys. Tyson Williams, really deserves a lot more opportunity he's gotten, but Devontae Freeman and Le'Veon Bell, one of these guys is probably going to have a pretty good week. Justin Jefferson wearing a free Odell hoodie in pregame warmups. I mean, Odell Beckham is free. He's going to be free next week. I really, as a Patriots fan, I'm rooting for Odell to join the Patriots. I think Odell Beckham Jr. would help the Patriots out tremendously. And also the Patriots play the Browns next week. So he'd get to play against the Browns. I really hope we get to see Odell play against the Browns, guys. That would be very, very, very quality television. CMC or Damian Harris. Yeah, I think I would go CMC over Damian Harris in a PPR league. If it's not PPR, then I'd probably go Damian Harris. Melvin Gordon or Elijah Mitchell. Elijah Mitchell, to me, is really risky this week. First of all, he's questionable dealing with an injury. And Jeff Wilson's back. So I think I'd go Melvin Gordon. Van Jefferson or Mike Williams today. You got to go Mike Williams. I know Mike Williams hasn't been great of late, but you still got to be trusting him. I'd go Mike Williams. Kadarius Toney or Bryan Edwards. For me, that one's pretty easy. It's Kadarius Toney. Been here for almost 2 hours. Andrew, thanks for tuning in, man. I appreciate the time. Pick 2, Emmanuel Sanders, Beasley, Edmonds, Montgomery. Love the stream. Thanks, Andrew. Yeah, honestly, I don't think it's the worst strategy to just try out Emmanuel Sanders and Cole Beasley. In a head-to-head matchup, like your season-long leagues are, like one of these two guys is going to go off, and it could easily both. The Jaguars are just so bad. Like, just play it safe. Just try out all the guys against the Jaguars, and most of them are going to do well, like all the time. Jordan Love or Justin Herbert just subscribed. Thanks for the great advice. Thanks, Miguel. I appreciate that. Hit that subscribe button, guys, if you haven't subscribed yet. We're live every single Sunday morning, basically from when I wake up to kickoff. We are live every single Thursday night. And we are also going to be live every single Monday night moving forward. And we're going to be starting to make consistent YouTube content in the near-term future, too. So hit that subscribe button. We do appreciate it. Fantasy football content coming at you. Also, if you're watching live on TikTok, hit that follow button, too. I'm seeing a Mahomes or Jordan Love question in the chat. Like, come on, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Like, is there some sort of a chance that Jordan Love outscores Mahomes? Yeah, of course, because the Chiefs' defense is that bad. But still, you got to be starting Mahomes in every league. Jordan Love or Justin Herbert, just subscribe. Thanks for the advice. Yeah, I would go Justin Herbert. I would still go Justin Herbert over Jordan Love. As much as I like Jordan Love this week, let's be real. Jordan Love has a pretty scary floor. Like, we don't know what Jordan Love is yet. And he's in a really good first game against the Chiefs. They're underdogs too. Like, I think the Chiefs are going to put up a lot of points. I still think that Herbert's the safer option over Jordan Love. Drop Jarvis Landry and pick up drop Calvin Ridley and pick up Jarvis Landry. Yeah, I'd probably do that at this point. Like, I think Ridley could definitely come back at some point this season, and he'd be instantly more valuable than Jarvis Landry. But at the current moment, I'm fine with that. Walter, I want to risk money on the Falcons. Thoughts? The Falcons are actually, by the way, my name's actually Sam. Classic mistake. Don't worry about it. Walter's the artificially intelligent algorithm I helped build that powers the WalterPicks app. The WalterPicks app, completely free to download on iOS, coming to Android soon. Helps you dominate, start state decisions, trade advice, ad drop advice, DraftKings FanDuel advice, player prop, pretty much everything. So try out the app. But my picks against the spread are actually up on the YouTube live right now. Link is in the TikTok bio if you're watching live on TikTok. And I've had 57% accuracy against the spread this season, but my locks have actually had 69% accuracy this season. Those are just like my most confident picks against the spread this season. I think there's been over 15 of them at this point. Usually I have like 2 or 3 a week. It's week 9. So I think we're over 20 locks, and I've had 69% accuracy. And my 2 locks today, one of them is the Falcons, +6 against the Saints. Trevor Siemian and Taysom Hill are a 6-point favorite today. Like, just ignore who they're playing for a second. And just put that in the context of Trevor Siemian and Taysom Hill. It's the worst quarterback room in the NFL as far as I'm concerned. And I know that the Saints have been really good, but like the defense is good. The Saints defense is clearly better than the Falcons defense, but the Falcons offense to me is kind of pretty clearly better than the Saints offense heading into the day. And I care about offense a lot more than defense. So I'm going with the Falcons to win that game. I like them +6. My other lock today is the 49ers. They're 3.5-point favorites against the Cardinals likely without Kyler Murray. They're likely without DeAndre Hopkins. They'll be without AJ Green. So it's Colt McCoy versus the 49ers. So, like, they should be much bigger favorites than that, in my opinion. So those are my 2 locks today. Claypool or Toney, PPR flex. Yeah, I like both of them. I think I like Claypool more, though. The Bears have allowed the 4th most points per game to receivers this season. They've really been obliterated by deep threats, too. Like Deebo Samuel just tore them to shreds last week. I like Claypool a lot this week. Hello, need help. Cody in the YouTube live. Just subscribe. Thanks, man. Yeah, guys, if you're watching live on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. If you're watching live on TikTok, come on over to YouTube live. I can pull up your comments much easier, and you get like just more information at the bottom of the screen. My picks against the spread, top 10 rankings for every position. So come on over to the YouTube live. Link is in the TikTok bio. Mike Williams, Kadarius Toney, or Patterson to start. Yeah, it's got to be Patterson. Like Cordell Patterson, against the Falcons. I'm playing Cordell Patterson in my DraftKings lineup today. Patterson is to me the biggest beneficiary, even more than Kyle Pitts, with the Calvin Ridley departure, or I guess the current break for Calvin Ridley from the NFL. The biggest beneficiary, that's the word I'm looking for, is Cordell Patterson. He's just locked into so much volume. Even in like a very not great matchup for Cordell Patterson, I think you still got to go with him. Tony or Waddle with no Tua, just liked and subscribed and coming from TikTok. Danny, thanks, man. Yeah, I would probably go with Jalen Waddle over Kadarius Toney. I like both of them a lot this week. Even with Jacoby Brissett, though, I mean, Jalen Waddle's just locked into really good volume. He's locked into really, really good volume today. So I think I would probably go with Jalen Waddle. By the way, I think correct me if I'm wrong here, but the last time that Jacoby Brissett played, let me just pull this up. Was that the week that Myles Gaskin saw like a million catches? Like he was basically Christian McCaffrey that week. I, of course, was playing against him in like every league that week. The Myles Gaskin is a very interesting play this week. The Texans are not good. And I'm just pulling. Yeah, it was against the Buccaneers. Right? It was against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers week 5. And that was Jacoby Brissett playing. Myles Gaskin is a very good play this week. He has a really high receiving upside in PPR leagues. Last time Jacoby Brissett started a game with Myles Gaskin was week 5 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Myles Gaskin had 10 targets, 10 catches for a total of 99 yards and 2 touchdowns. He was the number 2 overall running back that week. Myles Gaskin should be strongly considered in DraftKings, FanDuel, all of your season-long leagues. Like the volume is likely going to be there for Myles Gaskin. All of a sudden, Myles Gaskin in the running back 1 conversation with Jacoby Brissett starting. Damian Harris or Boston Scott? Yeah, I'd go Damian Harris over Boston Scott. Should I start Kenneth Gainwell? No, do not start Kenneth Gainwell. Emmanuel Sanders or CeeDee Lamb? You got to go CeeDee Lamb, man. You got to go CeeDee Lamb. Lamb's just too good. Lamb's dealing with an injury, but you still got to go CeeDee Lamb. Carlos Hyde or Kenyon Drake, just subscribe coming from TikTok. I would go Kenyon Drake. I want nothing to do with Carlos Hyde. I want Carlos Hyde as far away from my starting lineups as I could possibly get him. Like, even if Carlos Hyde does good, like, I think the process of benching Carlos Hyde is the right process. Carlos Hyde is I think, like, generally speaking, you want to chase the touches in fantasy football. And Carlos Hyde should get a lot of touches. James Robinson's out this week with a heel injury. Hopefully he gets better soon because he was really set up for like a monster second half of the season with the workload he was seeing. But I think Carlos Hyde is like one of the few exceptions where, thank you, Star444, for the gift in the TikTok live. I think Carlos Hyde is one of the few exceptions of like the talent's just so bad that don't chase the volume with him. Ayuk or Marvin Jones? I'd go Ayuk over Marvin Jones. The Jaguars are just so brutal, guys. Jamal Agnew is leading that team in targets since the DJ Chark injury, like the past 3-4 weeks. They have Marvin Jones, Laviska Shenault, 2 very good receivers, and Jamal Agnew, the 5th round pick back in 2017 from San Diego, who really is like he really is a special teams player. Like he's been a special teams player most of his career. And he's gotten over 10 points 3 straight weeks. He's seen at least 6 targets 3 straight games. He's got 26 targets over the last 3 weeks. That's the most on the Jaguars. Like, it's just so hard to trust Marvin Jones or Laviska Shenault with that type of thing going on. Is Derek Carr a good start today? I wouldn't say good. Like, I think he's okay. I don't think he's great. I don't think he's terrible. He gets the Giants. The Giants have been like just average. The Giants defense has like been a little bit better of late. They're coming off, I think, a pretty big win too. But they lost to the Chiefs, but Mahomes didn't do very well. They did okay against Matthew Stafford. They've had some really tough matchups. The last 4 games for the New York Giants, they played the Cowboys, Dak Prescott, who threw for 300 yards. They played Matthew Stafford, who threw for 250. Then they played Sam Darnold, who did nothing. And then they played Mahomes, who threw for 275. And this week they get Derek Carr. Like, I think Derek Carr is actually a pretty risky play. Derek Carr's been cooking, though. He's gone over 300 yards in 2 of his last 3 games and 2 touchdowns. He's had at least 320 yards and 2 touchdowns in his last 2 games against Denver and Philadelphia. So Carr's been great against pretty good matchups, but the Eagles defense has also been okay against really tough matchups too. So I think he's okay. I don't think he's great. I don't think he's terrible. I think he's okay. Start Christian McCaffrey. Yeah, you should be starting Christian McCaffrey. You should definitely be starting Christian McCaffrey. Another guy that you got to be very excited about today is Nick Chubb. Guys, my free prop pick of the day is Nick Chubb over 82.5 rushing yards I think he could easily go over 100. I think he could easily go over 100. He's seen at least 15 carries in all but one game this season. There's no Kareem Hunt. Like, nobody's locked into workload like Nick Chubb today on the ground. I know the Bengals defense is like okay, but Nick Chubb has been the most efficient running back in the NFL over the last 2 years. He could easily clear 100. He hasn't had a massive game yet this season either. DJ Moore or CD Lamb. It's got to be CD Lamb over DJ Moore at this point. Beasley or Sanders. Sanders tossed up a donut last week. He still sees like more deep targets down the field. He still had over 100 air yards in that game. A lot of them were kind of empty air yards. But I still think I'd go Emmanuel Sanders over Cole Beasley against the Jaguars. It's close, though. I think both are good starts. Like, I think both – the Jaguars are just so bad. Is CMC playing? Yeah, it looks like Christian McCaffrey is playing. It looks like Christian McCaffrey is playing. Latavius Murray and Sammy Watkins inactive, which is kind of surprising. I thought Watkins was going to play today. That makes Rashad Bateman a slightly better play. Rashad Bateman a slightly better play now. Jamal Agnew, Russell Gage, or Taj Sharp. Yeah, Tommy, you're digging deep at the receiver position right now. I like Taj Sharp more than Russell Gage, but honestly, I feel you kind of have to go Jamal Agnew. Like, he's leading the team in targets. I don't know. I would go Jamal Agnew, I guess. Taj Sharp is to me the best player on the list, but Jamal Agnew's to me going to see the most targets. Sanders or Judy today? I'd probably go Sanders over Judy. I'd like to see Judy back to full steam before we actually start Jerry Judy. He was not back at full steam last week. He still looked okay. It's a pretty good matchup against the Cowboys today, I understand. But Sanders also has a good matchup against the Jaguars. Like, you look at defenses against receivers this season, and the Dallas Cowboys have not been good. The Dallas Cowboys have allowed the 8th most points per game to receivers, but the Jaguars have allowed the 7th most. The Jaguars have actually been worse than the Dallas Cowboys against receivers. Even when the Jaguars are losing by 20 plus points, like, they're still just allowing tons of passing yards. I think that the Bills are 14.5-point favorites against the Jaguars, and I would definitely be on the Bills side of that spread. They could win this game by 30 plus. Zeke or Henderson? Yeah, it's Zeke. You got to go Zeke. You got to go Zeke over Henderson. They're both good. No, they're both good. Pick 2, Deontay Johnson or Joe Mixon and CeeDee Lamb. Yeah, I think you kind of have to go the last two here. I like Deontay Johnson. Guys, there's been very few players that have been as consistent as Deontay Johnson. Deontay Johnson has at least 12 points in every single game this season. Like, he has either gone over 70 yards or a touchdown in every game. Pretty impressive stuff. So the floor is definitely there for Deontay Johnson, especially against the Bears, who've allowed the 4th most points per game to receivers this season. Joe Mixon, though, I think is also a must start. They're slight favorites against the Browns. The Joe Mixon's just locked into so many touches. Honestly, I think I'm talking myself into Deontay Johnson and Joe Mixon here. But CeeDee Lamb has a higher ceiling than Deontay Johnson. Deontay Johnson also hasn't gotten over 22 points in a game. So, like, the ceiling's not tremendously high for Deontay Johnson, but the floor is there. So I would say floor play here is Deontay and Joe Mixon. Ceiling play here is Joe Mixon and CeeDee Lamb. Will A.J. Brown play? Yeah, it looks like he's going to play. But I would play Justin Jefferson over A.J. Brown. Guys, the Ravens defense is, I think, the most overrated defense in the NFL. They've allowed the most passing yards per game to quarterbacks. But they rank 16th best against quarterbacks in terms of fantasy points. So what that says is they've allowed the most yards, but they've really been a bend but don't break defense. They've allowed a lot of rushing touchdowns, but also, like, they have done well in the red zone. But yards are the most indicative thing of defensive success. So I think that the Vikings, Kirk Cousins, Justin Jefferson, and Adam Thielen, they could all do really well today. I would not be benching Justin Jefferson. Should I replace Tyreek or Debo for Brandon Cooks? No, I don't think so. I mean, if anyone, it would be Debo Samuel because he's dealing with an injury. But no, I don't think you can. Just my question got skipped. Brandon Cooks or Mike Williams? Yeah, I like Brandon Cooks a little bit more than Mike Williams today. I still think Mike Williams is good. Julio upside play this week? Yeah, he is. He's an upside play. He's not on the injury report. That's a big deal for a guy like Julio Jones. That's what we've been waiting for Julio Jones. Like, if you aren't starting Julio Jones this week, what are you waiting for? Right? Like, you're just going to wait for another injury for Julio Jones? Like, this is the week for Julio Jones. They're 7-point underdogs against a Rams secondary that actually has been probably worse than you would think. They've allowed the 14th most points to receivers, and mostly because they're just destroy teams. And there's no Derrick Henry, so they're probably going to pass more. Love the stream. Thanks, Josh. Yeah, guys, we're live on TikTok and YouTube right now. Come on over to the YouTube Live if you're watching live on TikTok. Link is in the TikTok bio. You got a little bit more info on the YouTube Live. You got my favorite picks against the spread, my top 10 rankings at every position, and it's a little bit easier for me to pull up comments on the YouTube Live. So hit the follow button on TikTok. Come on over to the YouTube Live. Link is in the TikTok bio. We got a good question here. Marvin Jones, Myles Gaskin, or Hunter Renfrow? Guys, it's Gaskin. The last time Jacoby Brissett started a game with Myles Gaskin, he had 10 catches, 99 total yards, and 2 touchdowns. So you got to like Myles Gaskin. And it's a good matchup, too, against the Houston Texans. The money gun. Wow, thanks, Juder. I do appreciate that. Kadarius Toney or Boston Scott? Yeah, I'd go Toney over Scott. Schultz, or I'm seeing Schultz versus Darren Waller. Schultz for George Kittle in the TikTok live, too. Bench George Kittle, first of all. George Kittle has a bad matchup today. Cardinals have allowed the least points to tight ends this season, and George Kittle's on a snap count. As for Darren Waller, you've got to start Darren Waller. Darren Waller and Travis Kelce are in a tier of their own, especially with Henry Ruggs out. It's even better for Darren Waller. Ayuk, Peoples-Jones, Osborne, pick one. It's got to be Ayuk. I like Peoples-Jones as a deep sleeper today. And I do think the Vikings-Ravens game could turn into a shootout, but it's Ayuk, man. Ayuk is a good start this week. The floor is there for Ayuk. Like, the floor is scary. But the ceiling is intriguing. He played 90% of the snaps last week. He has his highest targets of the season. Like, it does feel like he is in a good spot. I want to answer this question really quickly, if I can find it. Scrolling up a little bit here. The question was, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to find it. Here it is. The question was, I'll answer this one next, Bruno. Who are the best receivers to target now for the fantasy football playoffs? And generally speaking, everyone tuned in to these live streams are just above average fantasy football players. Like, if you're tuned into this live stream, you're above average fantasy football player. You're seeking the best advice out there. So you are well informed. You're probably doing pretty well in your fantasy league, or you've gotten really unlikely. That's possible too. But if you're planning for the fantasy football playoffs, which you absolutely should do if you're in the top of your fantasy football standings, because the goal in your fantasy football league is to win the fantasy football championship. That is really the only goal. And to do that, step one, you got to make the playoffs. But once you are in the playoffs, you really got to be planning for the playoffs. Like, once that's the advantage you have in fantasy when you get ahead in your league. So all that being said, I think Devonte Smith is the guy that stands out the most to me, who extremely cheap to acquire right now. He gets Washington, the Giants, and then Washington again in the fantasy football playoffs. Like, he could go absolutely bonkers in the playoffs. All right, can you please pick one? I've been here for an hour. Yeah, Bruno, I got you, man. For my flex, Jarvis Landry or Christian Kirk with Hopkins out. Yeah, I'd go Jarvis Landry. I like Kirk. Like, I think Kirk has a good ceiling today. There's no DeAndre Hopkins. There's no AJ Green. Like, that is Christian Kirk's role now. But it's Colt McCoy taking the helm over Kyler Murray with Kyler Murray's injury. So I think I would go with Christian Kirk, only in desperation. I think it's a ceiling play, but the floor is so low for Christian Kirk, and the floor is definitely much higher for Jarvis Landry. And Jarvis Landry is up against Chubb or Mike Davis. Come on, guys. Definitely Chubb. The floor is higher for Jarvis Landry. Like, they're up against a Bengals defense that just allowed 400 passing yards to Mike White. Andrews or Pitts? Yeah, this one's good. My rankings have Pitts over Andrews. I think this one's super close. Pitts is basically the number one receiver for the Falcons now. Like, he's not in a good matchup, and defenses are really just going to key on Pitts, but I still think you kind of have to go Pitts. Andrews also has a lot more competition for targets now with Rashad Bateman. But Sammy Watkins is also out this week, which was a little bit unexpected. I think it's really close. I think Pitts has the higher ceiling, but Andrews probably has the higher floor because the matchup is not great for Pitts. Julio or Ayuk at flex from TikTok. Kyle, thanks, man. Guys, make sure you're hitting that subscribe button if you're just tuning into the YouTube Live for the first time. And if you're watching live on TikTok, you can get to the YouTube Live with like 2 presses of your fingers into the TikTok bio, straight to the YouTube Live. And it's just a little easier to pull up comments there. It's also just, there's more free information on the YouTube Live, like my picks against the spread, which are on the screen right now. But yeah, I would go Julio Jones over Ayuk. I like Ayuk this week. I've been pretty clear with that. But I like Julio Jones too. And again, like, if you have Julio Jones, what are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? Mike Williams, Waddle, and Marquise Brown, pick 2 to start today. Thank you for the gifts, by the way, in the TikTok Live. I will always try to answer your question if you toss some gifts in the TikTok Live. Mike Williams, Waddle, and Marquise Brown, pick 2. Yeah, it's probably the latter, Waddle and Marquise Brown, especially with Sammy Watkins out. I like Marquise Brown a lot. I think that Vikings-Ravens game could be a massive shootout. Like, you want pieces of that game. I also like Jalen Waddle with no Devontae Parker against the Texans. I would probably go to those 2 guys. I actually do like Mike Williams still, but I do worry about the floor for Mike Williams today against Darius Slay. All right, Kadarius Toney or Cortland Sutton? It's probably Kadarius Toney, honestly. Hey, Sam, play Khalil Herbert or Zach Moss? It's Zach Moss, Yarshua. Khalil Herbert's risky this week, guys. Khalil Herbert playing with David Montgomery back likely this week. Like, the floor for Khalil Herbert's just going way, way, way down. Ayuk or Edwards? Yeah, I'd go Ayuk. Cam, thanks for the gifts, man. I will try to get to anyone in the chat of TikTok that sends gifts. I do appreciate that. We're also live on YouTube too. Link is in the TikTok bio. I'm trying to get to as many questions as I can. We got like 20 minutes left in the live. Pick 2, A.J. Brown, Adam Thielen, Amari Cooper, Keenan Allen. Definitely the first 2. It's got to be the first 2. I like Amari Cooper a lot too. I like Keenan Allen. But A.J. Brown's got to be locked into everyone's starting lineup. How do you feel about Miami defense today? I don't hate it, but the defense just isn't that good. Like, I think Tyrod Taylor could do well. I actually think the Texans could beat the Dolphins today. So while it's technically a good matchup, like I just don't feel great about the talent of the Dolphins defense, who've really just been much, much worse than anyone expected this season after having a good year last year. Devonte Williams or Chuba Hubbard. Yeah, you can't go Chuba Hubbard anymore. Chuba Hubbard's like super, super risky now with Christian McCaffrey back. So it's got to be Devonte Williams. Deebo Samuel, yeah, he's dealing with an injury. I still think you got to start him. Came from TikTok. Zeke Patterson or Elijah Mitchell. Been here for 20 minutes. Chase, thanks, man. You have to start Ezekiel Elliott. You have to start Ezekiel Elliott. Like, you absolutely need to be starting Zeke. Appreciate the follow in the TikTok live. Guys, if you haven't followed me on TikTok yet and you're in the TikTok live, hit the follow button. And also, if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, we're also live on YouTube right now. Link is in the TikTok bio. Make sure you're hitting that subscribe button. Cam, I do appreciate the gifts. We are live every Sunday morning, every single Thursday night. We're about to be live every Monday night too. Pick 2, Christian McCaffrey, Mixon, or Aaron Jones. Yeah, just go the last 2. Like, Jonah, this is where we got to draw the line with Christian McCaffrey. You got to be pumped McCaffrey's back, but you also should probably be starting Mixon and Aaron Jones with McCaffrey likely to be on some sort of snap count. Star 444. Thank you for the gifts. The footballs are my favorite gifts, honestly, to get. Those are great. We are heading into the last part of the live stream. And guys, I always end my live streams only on YouTube. And part of the reason I do this is I try to go rapid fire in the comments in like the last 10, 15 minutes of these lives because there's a lot of questions. I try to get to as many as I possibly can. I appreciate the time. Seriously, time, most valuable thing you have in life. So I appreciate you spending some time with me this morning. But I'm going to be wrapping up the TikTok live in just a minute now. But the YouTube live still has 15, 20 minutes left. So come to the YouTube live. Link is in the TikTok bio if you want to try to get your last minute questions answered. Again, if you don't, thanks so much for tuning in. Have a fantastic Sunday. Again, we're live on YouTube the next 15, 20 minutes. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you hit that follow button if you haven't followed us on TikTok yet. And good luck this Sunday. Have a good one, guys. All right, we are live just on YouTube now. Let's get into it, guys. We're going to go rapid fire into some of the comments. And this is the best part of the stream because I get locked into the comment section. Let me just refresh the news really quickly before we hop into it. Again, if you're new to the YouTube stream, hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button. It takes you like 2 seconds. It helps us out like way more than you would even realize. So I do appreciate that. Terry Bradshaw blasted Aaron Rodgers on Fox. Jeez. Yeah, the Aaron Rodgers stuff, just wild. We haven't talked about it today, but just wild stuff, man. Wild NFL season. It feels like the last week of NFL news has been like the wildest NFL news cycle I've ever seen. All right. Cole Beasley or Melvin Gordon, half PPR. It's got to be Cole Beasley. Oh, 0.25 per rush. That's crazy. But half PPR, I think I'd still go Cole Beasley. Kirk or Darrell Williams. Yeah, I would go Darrell Williams. Been here for almost an hour. Let me pull this one up really quickly. Cameron, I will get to your question too. I see this one. Let me see if I can find this. All right, we got a couple questions queued up. Tyler Boyd or Bryan Edwards? Yeah, I'd go Bryan Edwards over time. I don't feel great about Tyler Boyd. I really don't. All right, let's get to this one. We're about to go rapid fire. We're about to go really, really fast. In just a second, I wanted to pull this one up, though, if I can find it now. This is a bit random. James Conner or David Johnson? Definitely James Conner. What's up, Sam? Rondale Moore, Sutton, or Agnew? Yeah, it's got to be punt and kick returns count. Yeah, got to go Rondale Moore there. Got to go Rondale Moore. Who are the best DraftKings picks? Devonte, Booker or Gaskin now that Tua is out. Yeah, I still think you got to go Booker, but it's definitely closer now. Adams, Chase, Cooks, or Cooper, and Lamar. Got to go Lamar over Stafford. You got to play Adams and Chase. Hey, those ones are easy. Hey, Sam, should I start Arizona defense or Panthers defense? Yeah, I'd probably go with the Arizona defense, but neither are great. Guys, if I do get your question too, I appreciate if you can toss a 5-star review to us in the WalterPicks app in the iOS App Store. It helps us out tremendously. There was a question I wanted to get to that I can't see now. Let's see if I can find it. Scroll up a tiny bit. We are about to go rapid fire. By the way, rapid fire has really not started yet. Let's see if we can find it. Here it is. Boston Scott or Jacoby Myers. Yeah, it's got to be Jacoby Myers. It's got to be Jacoby. All right, let's go rapid fire here. Devonte Smith, Hopkins, or Kirk. Hopkins not playing, so I'd go Kirk over Devonte Smith. I'm not feeling good about Devonte Smith this week. Van Jefferson or Kirk. I'd go Van Jefferson over Kirk. I like Van Jefferson a lot. DJ Moore, Bateman. Bateman getting a boost for me. Honestly, I'm nervous about how many people I told to bench Rashad Bateman on this live stream now that Sammy Watkins is out. Like, I think this Ravens-Vikings game could be a massive shootout game, but I still think you got to go DJ Moore. Do you trust Lamb this week? Yeah, I do trust Lamb this week. Should I be starting Elijah Mitchell over Boston Scott today? No, I don't think you can. Pick one, Montgomery, Harris, Gainwell. I'd go Harris over both those guys. You really cannot be trusting Gainwell right now. Kenyon Drake or Russell Gage, please. It's 14-man PPR league. Yeah, Cameron, I'm in a 14-man high-stakes league. You got to go Kenyon Drake over Russell Gage. Debo or Keenan Allen. How nervous are you about the Debo injury? Because I'm not that nervous about it. Like, I'd go Debo Samuel still. But if you're nervous about it, then you gotta be going with Keenan Allen. I'd go Debo over Thielen too, but again, I think that game would be a massive shootout. So again, if you're nervous about the injury, I got you, Cameron. No worries. Waddle, Boyd, Darrell Williams, or Van Jefferson. To me, it's Waddle. It's got to be Waddle. Like, even though we don't have Tua playing and it's Jacoby Brissett, the Texans are bad at defense, and there's no Devontae Parker. Boston Scott or CMC, yeah, we're going to draw the line around Devontae Booker. So Boston Scott's way below Devontae Booker. I'd go Christian McCaffrey here. Brissett or Jordan Love? I like Jordan Love more than Brissett. Hyde or Bateman? I'd go Bateman. No Sammy Watkins this week. Sam, Julio or Boston Scott? I would go towards Julio Jones over Boston Scott. Hyde or Bateman? Yeah, again, Bateman. CMC, Mixon, Melvin Gordon, pick two. It's the first two. You got to be playing CMC over Melvin Gordon this week. Julio, Boyd, Judy, pick two. It's got to be Julio Jones and Jerry Judy. I'd go Julio Jones, Jerry Judy. Bateman, Van Jefferson, Edmonds. Probably Bateman here too. Joey, I'd like Edmonds as the safest play, but with Sammy Watkins out, you got to love Rashad Bateman against the Vikings defense. The Minnesota Vikings allowing the sixth most points to wide receivers this season. Rashad Bateman coming off the bye too. Like they're going to get him involved. D-Hop or Josh Jacobs. D-Hop likely not playing today, so get D-Hop out of your lineup. Zach Moss or Melvin Gordon. Zach Moss is a 14.5-point favorite against the Jaguars. Play Zach Moss. Devonte Smith or Jacoby Myers. Yeah, Smith is really hard to trust this week against a good Chargers defense. I think I would go with Jacoby Myers. Uncle Sam, Rondale Moore or Mooney at the flex. Yeah, it's got to be Rondale Moore. I think they're going to have to use Rondale Moore with Colt McCoy starting. I like Rondale Moore. Waddle or Emmanuel Sanders. This one's really close. I still think I'd like Waddle a little bit more than Manny Sanders. Like, Jalen Waddle's just like locked in to pretty exciting volume today with no Devontae Parker. What are the DraftKings picks? Oh, that's what I wanted to see. That was the question I was looking for. What are the DraftKings picks for 1 o'clock? I'm looking for tight end, wide receiver, and flex. Yeah, so let me pull this up really quickly. Here's my DraftKings lineup, and I actually might have to adjust this a little bit. I might put Rashad Bateman in there or maybe one of the Vikings receivers, but this is my lineup right now. I'm not sure which of these guys play at 1 o'clock, but Lamar Jackson, Dalvin Cook, Nick Chubb, Bryan Edwards, Rondale Moore, Hunter Renfrow. I like the Bryan Edwards, Hunter Renfrow stack in head-to-head. If you're doing a tournament, I wouldn't play two guys at the same position on the same team like that. Flex, I like Cordell Patterson and the Falcons defense. I like the Falcons defense stack because the Saints are starting Trevor Siemian and Taysom Hill. Like, those are the worst quarterbacks in the NFL. That's the worst quarterback room in the NFL as far as I'm concerned. That's why I like the Falcons as a lock today, +6 against the Saints. Gesicki or Kittle. You got to bench Kittle, guys. Kittle's against the Arizona Cardinals. No tight end has scored more than 8 points against the Cardinals. They're allowing the fewest points per game to tight ends this season. Monty, Landry, Bateman at flex. Yeah, I'd probably go Landry or Bateman. Honestly, with the Sammy Watkins news, I'm leaning towards Bateman. I'd go Marquise Brown over Manny Sanders too. I'd go Adam Thielen over Robert Woods with the Robert Woods injury. Monty Land, yeah, I think I already answered this one. We're going rapid fire, guys. Cole Beasley or Darrell Williams at flex. Jaden, I think you go Cole Beasley against the Texans, man. Cole Beasley has seen pretty consistent volume. All right, hey Sam, Uzama or Kittle? Oh man, yeah, this one's tough. Like this one, I've told Dominator 1237. I think I've literally told every single question today to bench George Kittle. I've told so many people to bench George Kittle. In this situation, though, the Bengals are up against the Browns. The Browns have also been, I think, pretty good against tight ends. Let me pull this up really quickly. Yeah, they've also been top 12 against tight ends. Like, Uzama's just like really risky. I'd probably go Kittle over Uzama. Please pick 2. Hunter Renfrow, Robert Woods, Mike Williams. I think you go the last 2. Like, I like Hunter Renfrow today. I still think you go Robert Williams, Mike Williams, Boston Scott or Jalen Waddle. I'd go Jalen Waddle over Boston Scott. Please pick 2. Hunter Renfrow. Yeah, I think I already did this one. Let me find this question. Someone said they've been here for a little while. Let's pull this up. Sam, I'm about to convince myself someone to give me McCaffrey for that's ridiculous. That's a complete W. Been here for a fat minute. Non-PPR. Moss or Brandon Cooks? Yeah, so I like Brandon Cooks a lot this week. But in a non-PPR league, like the running backs just get such a boost over the receivers, Gabriel. I think you got to go Moss. I do like Brandon Cooks. I think he could have a 100-yard touchdown day, but it's close. It's definitely close. Elijah Mitchell or Chase Edmonds? I'd go Chase Edmonds. I would definitely do the straight yards, 100%. Don't and keep Hopkins. Give away Ridley. Keep Hopkins. What is the prop? Yeah, free prop pick of the day was Nick Chubb over 82.5 rushing yards. Sammy, what's going on, Michael? Julio Jones, Higgins, or Jarvis Landry. I like Higgins today. I mean, Landry gets a boost with no D-Hop, but I think you've got to go Julio Jones. Again, like, what are you waiting for Julio Jones? If you're not going to start him this week, he's not on the injury report. So what are you waiting for? Been here since the start, please. Like, this is the week to start Julio Jones, is all I'm saying. The injuries have been the biggest issue, and he's not in the injury report. He's a 7-point underdog against the Rams. Like, if you have Julio, this is what you've been waiting for. Been here since the start, please. Ayuk or Adrian Peterson. Love your content, Sam. Thanks, man. I do really appreciate that. I think I would go Ayuk over AP. Definitely Adrian Peterson has a safer floor than Ayuk. But to me, the ceiling for Ayuk is just much higher. The Titans are big underdogs in this game. It doesn't shape up very well as a big Adrian Peterson week. Like, you could see 15 carries and still not perform better than Ayuk. So personally, I'd go Ayuk. Thomas Rendon, I'm coming to you, man. Been here for an hour. Pick 1, PPR. First of all, thanks for tuning in. Agnew, Bateman, Herbert, or Dillon. First of all, we're all massive Quadzilla fans. AJ Dillon today, who brought our Packers creator Caleb to the Packers game in Kansas City today for free. If you haven't seen that video yet, go check out Packers.WalterPicks on TikTok. But he's at the game today because of AJ Dillon. So probably my favorite player in the NFL right now. I still think I would go Rashad Bateman here, though. Rashad Bateman's actually a really high upside play today. No Sammy Watkins. Vikings defense allowing top 6 fantasy points per game to receivers this season. Coming out of the bye, they're going to want to get their first-round pick more involved. Hey, Sam, love the content. Thanks, man. Hyde, Javonte, Williams, and Peterson pick 2. I really, like, I want nothing to do with Carlos Hyde. I want nothing, like, Carlos Hyde, if you look at these 3 guys, Carlos Hyde should probably touch the ball more than Devonte Williams and Adrian Peterson. And usually that'd be enough for me to say, like, you kind of have to go Carlos Hyde. But honestly, I think I'd go Devonte Williams and Peterson. Carlos Hyde's on the worst. He's on the worst team in the NFL. And he's also, like, way past his prime, 32 years old. It's just really tough for me to get behind Carlos Hyde. I'm a full sub to the app. George Kittle, and I know Adrian Peterson's past his prime too, but, like, he's on a much better team. So I think I would probably bench Carlos Hyde. I'm a full sub to the app. Jack, thanks so much. Guys, again, the number one way you could possibly support me is doing one of the premium subscriptions in the WalterPicks app, where you also get a completely free 7-day trial. So, like, you can just do this 7-day trial and then decide if it's worth it, which I think is how every single product should work, honestly. George Kittle or Dan Arnold? I'm nervous about George Kittle this week. He, like we've talked about on the stream, he's up against the Cardinals. Not a single tight end has played against the Cardinals and scored more than 8 fantasy points. They've led the least fantasy points per game to tight ends this season. But George Kittle's also on a snap count. And then you look at Dan Arnold on the other side of the ball. He's playing for the Jacksonville Jaguars against the Bills. The Bills have also been pretty good defensively this season. They've allowed the 7th fewest points per game to tight ends. Dan Arnold had 10 targets last week, though. And the Jaguars are going to get crushed in this game. Like, this one's really tough. I took George Kittle over CJ Uzama. I would probably take George Kittle over Dan Arnold, too. I think those are 2 tight ends I could talk myself into George Kittle for. The talent discrepancy is just so massive. Edmonds, Gaskin, or AP PPR. Guys, the last time Gaskin played with Jacoby Brissett starting, Myles Gaskin had 10 catches, 99 total yards, and 2 touchdowns. He was the number 2 overall running back that week with 31 points. You got to start Myles Gaskin this week. McNichols or Peterson? Yeah, tons of questions like this today. But my general thoughts on this are, in a PPR league, I think I'd slightly prefer McNichols, though I do think Adrian Peterson out-touches McNichols and is the better non-PPR, half PPR play. But this week, the Titans have a tough matchup against the Rams. Like, they're going to be losing in this game. That's not great for Adrian Peterson. So I think this shapes up as a better McNichols week. With Kyler out, do I go Kirk Cousins, Danny Dimes, or Jordan Love? Yeah, it's Kirk Cousins. I like Jordan Love today, but it's Kirk Cousins. The Ravens have allowed the most passing yards per game. The most passing yards per game. Lamb or Devonte Booker, I'd go Lamb. So I'd go Kirk Cousins here. Been here for 2 hours, pick one. Full PPR, Boston Scott, Jeff Wilson, Devonte Williams, or Agnew. Yeah, I think you almost have to go Javonte Williams here. It's Boston Scott versus Javonte Williams for me. I don't like Agnew. Like, he's led the Jaguars in targets over the last 3 weeks. I still think you got to go with Javonte Williams, who's just the most talented player on that list. CMC on a snap count or Devonte Booker non-PPR? Yeah, Max, this is where we are drawing the line. It's right at Devonte Booker for CMC. I'd go Devonte Booker over. Love the content. Darrell Williams or Tyler Boyd? Yeah, I'd probably go Darrell Williams over Tyler Boyd. Hey, Sam, Bateman or Ayuk? Yeah, so early in the stream I said Ayuk, but now that Watkins is out, I think I'd go Bateman. We don't know if Deebo Samuel's going to be on some sort of a snap count or if he's even going to play. He's probably going to play, though. So I think I would probably go Bateman. Ayuk, Kirk, Mitchell, or Moore. Yeah, this one I would go either Rondale Moore or Brandon Ayuk. Probably Rondale Moore, though. Like, I do think he's going to have to be more involved with Kyler Murray out. 49ers or Saints defense? 49ers. They're playing against Colt McCoy. I go 49ers. Hurts or Herbert? Yeah, I have Herbert ranked one spot ahead of Hurts. I'd go Herbert. Not a good matchup for Jalen Hurts. This is not a good matchup for Jalen Hurts. In terms of rushing, it is. But in terms of passing, it's a really, really bad spot for Jalen Hurts. Thielen or Justin Jefferson? It's got to be Justin Jefferson. Rapid fire, Javonte Williams or James Conner? Yeah, I think I'd probably go Javonte Williams. Beasley or Sanders? I like Sanders just a little bit more than Beasley. I know Sanders put up a donut last week, 0 points. I'd still probably go Beasley. I'd still probably go Sanders. I'd say Beasley is the safer floor. Sanders has the higher ceiling, though. Beasley's the guy getting like the short, like intermediate targets over the middle. Sanders is getting a lot of deep targets. I think both can do well today, though. I'd go Waddle over Beasley, too. 2 wide receivers spots in a flex have Stephon Diggs, DJ Moore, Adam Thielen, Waddle, and T. Higgins. Yeah, you got to be playing these first two guys. I could see Adam Thielen over DJ Moore, but definitely start Stephon Diggs. Concerned about CD? Yeah, I'm nervous about the injury, but otherwise, no. Not concerned about it at all. Guys, that is my time. Good luck this Sunday. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't yet. My voice is almost gone. This has been a very fun stream. We'll be back live, actually, testing out a new Monday night live stream with our Packers creator and our Falcons creator, so make sure you're tuning in for that. And we'll be back live Thursday night as well. Best of luck today, and have a fantastic rest of your day. Thank you for tuning in.